Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Muser today. Today we are going to be, I'm a couple of days off from kicking off my vacation, and we're between campaigns on our Sunday sessions right now. So we thought we would take today to return to a regular favorite on the channel, and that would be Helmgast Games. I think it's Helmgast Studio, Helmgast Publishing's Kult, Divinity Lost. This is the most recent version of the classic Swedish horror RPG that was first published in the 90s, or at least in English in the 90s. I actually don't know whether that it was published in Sweden earlier than that. And actually, so I've got an interesting tidbit too. That so at the beginning of the month, when we kicked off the time of recording, we're running our ongoing Rollmaster game, and right as we kicked off that Rollmaster campaign, a couple hours before we were supposed to have our first session, we got news that Terry K. Amthor, one of the guys who was a creator behind Rollmaster and creator of the Shadow World setting, he had passed away. And one thing I learned in the course of sort of the obituary things that come afterwards is that Terry was actually responsible for bringing Kult to the U.S. So in a roundabout way, this session, I didn't intend it this way, but, as is much of my gaming in my youth revolved around Terry Amthor, seems that our gaming this month is also revolving around that too. So we'll dedicate this session to his memory and his contribution to gaming as well. So Kult Divinity Lost is a game that we have. Well, first off, let me introduce you to the fine players we have with us today. I'll go the order I got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and whether you have, or what your experience is with Kult, whether this edition or any previous edition. First up, we've got Sean.
Hey everybody, my name's Sean. I never played any other edition but this one, and I played Kult maybe a handful of times, I want to say. Most of them were with Kevin about maybe a year and a half ago, and then I played it maybe a one shot or two besides, but none of it more recent than about a year and a half ago. But it's it's always on my short list, ish, that would love to get back to playing a little bit of it. Definitely,
it's same way with me. It's one of those ones that just I have had such a good time with it every time we've taken it out. So,
yep.
And then also with us is Mo.
Hi, I'm Morris. I have never played Kult, and I've only just literally tried to skim some of the PDF rules.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I have been reading one of the laundry files this morning, which coincidentally might get me somewhat in the mood.
Nice. So one of the things that one of the things you need to set your mind at ease is that Kult is inspired by the kind of Powered by the Apocalypse school of games. It is definitely a story game. It is much more a play to see what happens kind of game that is driven by moves that your characters will be taking. So you don't need to really worry about the mechanics. They're very, very intuitive, and once you start rolling some dice, you'll get a sense for how the game's going to work. In terms of the game itself, then Mo, so Kult Divinity Lost, as written, I will say, is a much more extreme horror game than I am comfortable running. The game itself does not allow you to avoid. Okay, that's enough. Please, where's your ball? We have a very excitable co-DM who's been chewing on my hand for 10 minutes now. Okay, we just had someone deliver something, so her excitement level is up right now.
Yeah.
Okay, good girl. Kult Divinity Lost is, as I said, is at a default, the game is much more extreme and contains a lot more, a lot more extreme content than what I would want to have in any game that I either played or ran. However, the game itself, like the core mechanics of it, and there's enough in the game that I really, really enjoy, and the gameplay itself is something that I think is up there with some of my favorite horror mechanics. So I find that I really enjoy the game, but it is a tempered or a cautioned, at least, enthusiasm for the game. If you are intent on looking up, searching out the game yourself, just be aware that the contents of the game are very, very extreme. They really take it to heart to really try and test the limits of, in more of a Clive Barker kind of way too. and it's not the sensibilities of the game are definitely not for everyone, and it is very difficult to try and engage it in small chunks. So if you have sensitivity to certain things, or there are certain content like rape or torture or abuse that would be a trigger for you, it is absolutely not the game to check out. Do not. I would suggest checking out other horror games that parse some of those more extreme contents out. So with that said, let's talk about what you play in the game. So the game is really, the way I've been thinking of it, every time I've run it is much closer to kind of like the modern horror fiction, like the 80s and 90s Clive Barker or Dean Koontz or Stephen King kind of stuff. There is, in this default setting, there is a kind of mythology, but honestly, like, who the hell wants to learn the mythology of a horror game before you play it? Your characters don't really learn this stuff. It's about exploring the unknown, and really one of the things that is neat about the game is how much it focuses the attention on the characters. It's very much about you might think that playing a horror game with the kind of player-focused and character-focused agency that you have in story games might not be a good mix, but I found it to be quite good so far, because you're making decisions about the things that will be affecting your characters, or will be kind of that will be causing troubles for your characters. So I've said characters a whole bunch of times. Now let's talk about what you are going to play. So character generation in the game involves a couple of simple steps here. I've got character sheets set up for you guys. The way that we do this is, first you select an archetype, and then once you choose the archetype, there are different decisions that you will make between each of them. The archetypes start on page 46. And these are just broad, generalities, and there are a couple of different, occupations. The archetypes are not necessarily occupations, but some of them can be fairly determinative of what the occupation is you'll play. There are rules for playing supernatural creatures as well too, but they are more tied in with the setting more deeply. They're also separated from the regular archetypes because it's something that isn't recommended to start with, and I agree with that. And also because the magic rules in this there are different kind of like schools of magic, and there have been from the earliest editions of Kult, and they've only got one of the 10 that are available in the book. So we're not going to be playing magicians. We're not going to be playing characters with who are werewolves or ghosts or revenants or whatever. However, there are still plenty of other ways that you can have characters with unnatural abilities, and we'll talk about that as we go through. So archetypes start on page 46 of the core rulebook, and the archetypes are, I'll just read them out: the academic, the agent, the artist, the avenger, the broken, the careerist, the criminal, the cursed, the deceiver, the 1980s fax machine, the descendant, the detective, the doll, the drifter, the fixer, the occultist, the prophet, the Ronin, the scientist, the seeker, and the veteran. And Sean's just going to grab the door. There's another one called the seeker as well, or the sleeper as well too, but we'll assume your characters have been exposed to the supernatural already, because there's kind of a change to the rules that happens when you're playing a sleeper. So the only ones you missed, Sean, were just a couple of ones at the back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so take a moment, guys, flip through those, see if there is one that appeals to you, or one or two, and then just let's talk over which ones you guys are thinking of choosing. There's plenty of options, so I'm expecting you're probably not going to pick the same thing, but I guess one of the things that will shape this is what kind of game do we think we're going to play here. My preference is to not play the kind of run and gun type thing. I'm thinking something that's going to be more of a normal life where things get weird kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That sound good to you, Mo?
Yeah, can do. So I was thinking of an agent in a fairly normal, mundane, if you want to put it that way, who gets sort of like, weird cases. I've also, I said I was watching the Laundry Files. I've also been rewatching Fringe.
Yes, yeah. So this is less out there than what Fringe is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that he's we're playing in the US, then he'd be FBI.
Who said we're playing in the US? I assumed, since it's Canadian Thanksgiving, I thought we were playing in Canada.
Yeah. All right. Oh, CSI then. Is it CSI? I can't remember.
CSIS. CSIS. Yeah. I'm kidding. Well, the US, movie US is a lot easier for everyone to get on board than Canada.
But yeah, I was thinking agent possibly.
Okay. What are you thinking, Sean?
I am. Well, I was thinking. One thought was to possibly be broken.
Okay.
And a thought was that I had been on. This was a possible time between characters. I'd been on a case and had seen too much, and so now I'm off the force. And so maybe Mo's character and I know each other because of that.
Yeah, love it.
But I kind of drool at home drinking, or I don't know, whatever that looks like. Whatever the broken,
Yeah. So the there's a. Gosh, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but there's a Civil War historian who appears in Ken Burns' documentary, who just looks like he's a Southern dude, and he's the archetype of the broken, Southern writer. And I don't know what I was watching on YouTube the other day, but I saw one of the things came up for him too, and it's just like, it's the guy who, as soon as the camera went off, he's grabbing bourbon and, going to the porch.
Yeah.
So that's just where my mind goes immediately for that image. So the two different the archetypes that you guys selected, agent and broken. The agent does whatever is necessary to protect and serve her employer's best interest. People are simply resources to be used, abused, and expended. Anyone standing in the way must be removed. She gathers and analyzes information at an almost impossible speed. Threats demand rapid responses, and sometimes there are no good choices. The agent's job means accepting great costs, usually in the form of dangers, but also an ever-growing debt to those who sacrifice for the greater good. When this burden finally becomes too heavy, the agent's exits have likely already closed, and good and evil have lost all meaning. That, of course, doesn't need to encapsulate your character, Mo, but it's an idea of what Kult is sort of experiencing. And the broken has gazed into the abyss and escaped with their mind in tatters. They could be a homeless person who subconsciously performs rituals to forgotten gods, a mental patient who becomes a test subject for experimental medications, or the sinner who is physically dragged down into hell, yet somehow managed to escape back to the land of the living. The broken views things and sees through the illusion in ways others do not. In exchange for their irreparable trauma, they've gained unique insights about the truth, capital T. The question is, how far can they trust their own senses? So, first thing you're going to do, guys, once you get your character sheets open, you got an occupation on there. And so one of the things we were talking before we went live a bit about Delta Green, so it's sort of fresh in my mind. But one of the nice things with FBI as the sort of framing device for it is the FBI is restricted to one state. So what do you think about being an FBI agent, Mo?
Yeah, that sort of works.
That works, okay. And then you're thinking a former FBI agent? Is he just living off of like a medical pension, right? Or she? I don't know if it's a man or a woman.
Probably he. Yeah, he's probably working off a pension. In fact, you were talking about how what that made you think of, and actually my mind immediately went to and I've been playing Delta Green, and so my character's in a corner screaming, and I'm thinking, okay, then maybe this is that character kind of thing. That
yep.
kind of a.
Yep.
So yeah, medical pension.
You know, you really have to appreciate that it's the DM in me that's grinning like an idiot and nodding. We're like, yeah, they're screaming in a corner. They're broken.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So then the next thing you guys have to pick is to select one dark secret for your character, and the suggested ones there are listed on your character sheet. Dark secrets begin on page 43 of the core rulebook. So for the recommended dark secrets, choose one for the agent: forbidden knowledge, guardian, occult experience, straight disappearance, or victim of medical experiments. And for the broken, forbidden knowledge, mental illness, occult experience, returned from the other side, or victim of medical experiments. Now, one of the things that comes from this is the drives, and let me remember how this works. I think the drives are the things that grant you experience points at the end of sessions, because you do gain XP in this game. Or advancement, I should say. Oh, yes. Kult, Divinity Lost Glossary, or Index, we meet again. I remember how terrible you are. Let's try to find the rules for...
the starting page for those?
Drives. That is on page 43. It's just such a great looking game too. Boy, I forgot how good this game is looking.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm a PDF guy, but I'm jealous of the book today.
It is, yeah. Well, actually, and I picked up a bunch of other stuff. I at one point, this was going to be my gaming marathon when we were going to be in person. So I've got like, there's a reference deck with some cards in it and stuff, and nice. There's handouts that you can get, like a bundle of all the archetypes.
Cool.
Really great stuff, and the handouts for the moves.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so having that in front of the characters just to...
You were going over drives, Kevin? Oh, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find and honestly, I'm trying to find them in the damn book here.
Yep.
It's, here we go.
Let's see here.
Anna says hi. She's angry that I can't find it. I'm trying to... Anna Banana.
Drives, let's see here.
Equipment.
Index?
Oh, I might be confusing drives with dramatic hooks. Because you guys actually get each other. Let's see. Maybe it says right at the beginning of the section, and I'm just stupid and not reading it. Oh, you know what? Sorry, it's 93, Mo. 93. I'm sorry. The 4 looks like a 9 on it. Sorry. 93. 93 is where Dark Secrets begin.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I think the personal drive is just it's the thing that gives you agency. It gives your character agency. Mm-hmm. Like one of the things that let's see, Dark Secrets disadvantages. So here's the recommendation they give about Dark Secrets. They are windows into traumatic, mystical, and guilt-laden episodes in the character's past. Each Dark Secret has a theme, which the player and Game Master take into consideration when developing the secret's specifics. However, any Dark Secret can provide the framework for a great variety of events, serving as inspiration for developing a character's concept and backstory, as well as acting as a storytelling aid for GM and player. The PC's various Dark Secrets provide the GM with concrete themes for the overall story, such as guilt, revenge, escape, sorrow, passion, redemption. I don't know why I said passion so weird there. I thought it was going to be a different word. And then started saying it.
Yeah.
They also serve as anchor points for locations, objects, and entities to be included when preparing the story. And let's see here. Looking at the character sheets here. Where are you? Yeah, this is just it's I think something to just to add motivation for your character.
Yep.
I don't think there's a game mechanic relationship to that. It's just something to help structure the story. The game does have an interesting way of diagrammatically setting up relationships. You know, I'm not sure if either of you guys have read or have played Vampire 5th, but Vampire 5th has a really clever way of using diagrams to set up character relationships in it. And I don't know whether they got that idea from here or it was just cross-pollination or two different ideas, but the drives are one of those things that you would use as like motivators. So if like you've got a drive, say, to get revenge or, you know, learn something about someone, whoever that person is that is opposed to that drive, that is someone who's going to be on that diagram.
Yep.
And will either be pushing or pulling you away from that. So have you guys made a selection for your respective dark secrets?
Yes. Got a couple.
Okay. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, well, so it's they stem from. So I you know, it was on a case and encountered something. And so this probably the best is either forbidden knowledge, or perhaps return from the other side. So it'd be something where I was getting pulled into something, and possibly like my partners got pulled in, but like my belt got hooked on the couch or something. And so all, you know, and so I had something, you know, and so I was like crawling out, you know, I had some weird, like just random reason that I didn't get sucked into that, you know, that. Yep. That kind of just helps to break you, like, you know that it wasn't you didn't achieve anything, you know, your just belt got hooked on something.
Yeah, it was you know, luck that saved you, not luck. Any foresight or planning or anything like that. It was just,
and possibly it's still after me, so or I think so. You know, like I think the next darkness is going to pull me in, or you know, and maybe true, maybe not.
Which do you think that was? Forbidden knowledge, or
so it's either going to be forbidden knowledge, a return from the other side, and lastly, I would say there's a little bit of this in visitations, because a visitations has escaped the entity pursuing you. So if it's true, visitations has a little bit of that. So I don't think
visitations. The way I read it though is more of that you've got a long history of this stuff that would culminate. So, but I mean that also could be interesting if what you want, if you're ultimately to blame for it, if you're the locus of whatever fucked up thing that killed or destroyed or whatever else or disappeared your partner.
Right. It's a thought.
What do you think? Mo, let's say while you're chewing that over, let's hear what Mo. Mo, what are you thinking?
I was thinking. Hang on. Oh, it's jumping around again. Occult knowledge.
Occult knowledge, okay. Or sorry, occult experience, you mean?
Occult experience, yeah. So that the thing that he's sort of started, the breaking of the veil, as it were.
Yep.
Had some sort of experience, and he was a bit shaken up by that, and he wants to find out. Hang on, no, God, these are these CDS.
It's page 94 of the core rulebook.
No, it's just jumping around and it keeps jumping away. So yeah, uncover more of the truth, I think, was the drive.
Okay,
the experience, and then
awesome.
What's going on? You know. Also, I imagine this is a sort of more of a backroom agent initially.
Agreed.
He's not one of the ones that jumps out of the car, sliding over the bonnet with a gun. He's the one in the back room.
Sliding over the bonnet. I love that.
It also, I mean, like,
as an American,
I'm already seeing the, like, after your experience, after you're stuck back in the thing, you know, you pull the case file that has Sean's, you know, agent's name on it, right? Yeah, love it.
And I thought
love it.
Worked quite well.
You know, I half-ass recorded a podcast yesterday talking about, like, one of the things I love playing with all you folks is how eager you guys are to have connections with each other. You know, it's such a, like, paying attention, being prepared and whatnot, like, all that stuff is really important for good gameplay, right? To be a good player, but, like, actively trying to find ways to connect your characters to other characters to bring them more into the story is just. I am very, very lucky to play with all you folks, so that's great stuff. Okay, so then, next thing you guys will be selecting is disadvantages. So, Broken, you already, and disadvantages start on page 96. Okay. You already automatically start with Broken for you, Sean. But then you pick one more, and there's some suggestions there. Drug addict, involuntary medium, mental compulsion, schizophrenia, stalker. And then you select 2, lost identity, nightmares, obsession, rival, stalker, or wanted.
Let me see here.
And it has some suggestions as well.
Yeah.
So where are those? They're after the...
They start on page 96 of the core rulebook.
Yep. And then your suggested ones, Mo, are under your your archetype.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I can put them in chat if that's easier rather than flipping back and forth.
It's okay for me. Whatever you think. Whatever.
No, I've got them in a notepad, so I can like.
Okay, great.
Around.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
I'm.
Okay. Yeah, it's neat.
No.
So the character sheets that you get in the bundle, it has all the archetypes in them, but then it has all the suggested things on them with the full rules for each of them as well.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. So it's super like for camp. What do you call it? Not campaign, but convention play or something like that, or just pick up play.
Yep.
Great stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are looking good. Let's see here.
Nice. So broken. Oof. Some experience of your past has broken your psyche so badly you've been unable to recuperate recuperate from it. As a result, your stability can never increase beyond distressed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I think is so fun about this game is seeing the characters, like they're not failing all the time. It's not like it's funny because of that, but like seeing them, the struggles that you choose to set up as the struggles they're dealing with, is just, it's really fun to see what happens. All right. Man. That's a great setup for campaign 2 with a young, curious agent and a burned out.
Totally.
And did you give some thought, Sean, to what you're selecting as your disadvantage?
So I'm down to 2.
Okay. Sorry, your dark secret. What was your dark secret?
Let's see. Did I decide that? Stand by. Let's see. Deciding, and I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Return from the Other Side.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe on that case, I don't know, we can come up with it, but it seems to like the fact it seems to reflect heavily on that you disappeared, or something strange, like even though I was talking about how my belt got hooked, but something to the effect of like you do need to have actually gone there.
Yeah.
So I was kind of describing it like I didn't actually go there, but that's okay. We can say I did go there, and you just walk out of a room one day and everyone goes, whoa, where were you? Like, what? This kind of a thing. So we can talk about that. But anyway,
sure.
So I think it's Return from the Other Side. Yeah. So that's
love it.
We'll do that. Yeah.
And did they ever find out what happened to your partner?
I don't think so. I mean, they just got sucked into the whatever, something, and they're trying to find out from me, and there's probably there could be some hostility, maybe not hostility, but at least disappointment, all the way up to hostility for good friends of my partner that like, dude, like, you got to come up with more than this. Like, no offense, but what happened?
Well, and it may have just been an easier answer to just give you a medical pension and discharge you rather than, because they couldn't charge you because there was not enough evidence, and So I was reading the impact of your distressed So because you're constantly distressed, it means you've got -1 to keeping it together,
Nice.
and -2 to disadvantage rolls.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
That's
helps.
great. Yeah.
That actually helps me, to make it all work.
Absolutely. Well, and it fits again. Like the game is about like every time you do a move, something changes about the story or the role and whatnot. So it's changing for the worse. Like that makes for really, really good drama. Mo, have you given some thought to your disadvantages?
Yeah, there's some interesting ones. I was thinking about sort of nightmare, some of the other stuff, but I think rival or stalker.
Okay,
So
yeah.
possibly stalker is effectively maybe the thing I witnessed that sort of triggered everything.
Okay.
They now know I know. Or rival is just internal. There's some bureaucrat who wants me to stop looking at this stuff and keep on. Depends how the game would go. I think stalker might work.
I'm good with either of those. What sounds more
Okay, let's
interesting
go for
to you?
stalker.
Love it.
Stalker.
Yep.
But I
'Cause I
probably
was gonna-
don't know that I have them yet.
It actually
is what I
works
mean.
out pretty interesting because I was thinking of either stalker or involuntary medium, so that might make my decision right there. That they're connected. I think that's a low-hanging fruit right there.
Yep.
That whatever's chasing you, obviously, is involved with me, and an involuntary medium, I get taken over periodically, so which is not convenient.
Yeah.
So.
Whenever you encounter spiritual entities or haunted places. Oh, that's going to be so good.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I'll take involuntary medium, and then I get broken automatically.
Okay. So you're thinking stalker, and what's your second one, Mo?
Oh, right. I think rival, and have it like there's someone else in the agency who is either thinks I'm just wasting my time or could actually be working for the other side or in some way.
I love it. And then these are honestly, they remind me of the mechanics of the hunted or watched rules from Hero System from Champions. And I love that stuff of like at the start of the session you roll and you see whether someone's going to be involved in the story, and you kind of okay.
Yeah. Star Wars actually had that too. The obligation system, if you remember that, you had to roll from the first Star Wars FFG, the one that's not very connected to the story. It's out on the fringes. I can't remember the name of it.
Edge of the Empire.
Edge of the Empire. That you if you had an obligation, you had to roll periodically, and the obligation catches up with you on that session. I like that stuff.
It's
That's
a
cool.
neat, and 13th Age has something similar too, where you roll and you see where the icons go in. It's a cool mechanic to.
It is
because whatever your baseline story is going to be for the session too, it never hurts to have other fun nuances put in there as well.
Yep.
To complicate things. So yeah, definitely, I like that. So we got stalker and rival and broken and involuntary medium. All right, so that's all the bad stuff that has your characters have been saddled with. Now let's talk about the good stuff.
Nice.
So next thing you get to select, guys, is 3 advantages. Advantages are kind of, you can think of like feats in 5th edition D&D, where it's like it gives you abilities that no one else can do. If you don't have these abilities, you will not have the ability, or you're not going to have the capability of doing them. So go ahead and take a look through. As you're selecting them to, be sure to take a look at what, or at least make note of what attributes they make use of, because if you want to be able to use them, you're going to want to make sure you've got decent scores in them. You'll be making that selection next. But you get to pick 3 advantages. The agent picks from moles, burglar, analyst, explosives expert, tracer, quick thinker, field agent, and endure trauma. And the broken selects from street contacts, intuitive, daredevil, contagious insanity, enhanced awareness, magical intuition, sixth sense, and wayfinder.
Wow, there's some good ones.
The abilities are pretty good. Like, just
at least you get 3. I don't have to choose. At least you don't have to choose one, because that should be tough.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Like for those listening at home, to give you a sense of what some of these abilities might be, are kind of like some of the more banal ones, like Daredevil. Whenever you're entering a dangerous situation, you roll perception. You make a roll and then you add your perception. and then you either choose 3 edges, and you can spend them anytime. And it's like things like keep your eyes open, get out of the way, get the jump on them. And edges are ways to, I think they give you bonuses to your rolls, if I recall. Let's see here. And so it's a neat way of kind of adding some mechanical rules that the character can interact with. It's one of the ways where Kult does, I feel, differ from some of the other Powered by the Apocalypse ones, where it's a little closer to a trad game, where you're feeling that there are actual game mechanics that seem to relate fairly closely to the fiction of what's going on, whereas some of the other Powered by the Apocalypse games they feel a little more abstracted.
Yep. Yeah, I think because the Power of the Apocalypse, I think, is really clever, but I like the additional structure of Kult that adds to it.
Agreed. Same reason I like or I prefer City of Mist to some of the other Power by the Apocalypse games. It's not just, although I have had fun with, and same thing with Blades in the Dark. I find out the connection, and it's just a personal thing because I'm an old fuck too. That I'm so used to playing trad games. That's sort of where my mind goes. Okay, I'm trying to see what edge is here to make sure I remember how that works. And the index is offering me no help whatsoever. And it's not offering me any help either. Clearly, it's a nice day out today because there's a lot of folks walking by. Outside. Right. Yeah, it's actually a quite nice day today.
That's great.
And it's Thanksgiving, so nobody works tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I keep that, yeah.
Yep. So for those Canadians listening at home, who are live at least, too, a happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Well, happy Canadian Thanksgiving to everybody. You just may not be celebrating it.
Right.
Okay.
Let's see here.
All right, sweetie. All right, I'm checking to see about edges while you guys are selecting your archetypes or your advantages. Any advantages that are seeming to jump out at you right now?
Well, for one, I think analyst.
Interesting. What's that one do?
I've now lost that.
Makes sense.
They're not strictly in alphabetical order, which is
Yeah, right.
They're organized by.
I'm having to adjust to that as well.
Yeah, they're organized by, I think, the attribute they use.
Yep. So I gotta tune into that.
Okay. And if for those listening at home, I was mentioning that kind of. It's just because I saw it right now. Come on, game. There we go. That's the diagram I was talking about, the connections between the different characters and the different things in play and stuff like that, and then you change them over time.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a clever way of visualizing what can be. Sometimes when you're running like a conspiracy or a complex thing with lots of NPCs, it's easy to get lost in the world, and it's a clever way of visualizing what's going on.
Yeah, and I quite like the idea of moles.
Oh, yeah.
Which would maybe be hypothetically, well, you place a number of moles in groups or organisations to interest you. And I'm assuming this is my internal contacts, like I can ring up the DNA, the DEA or NSA or that sort of thing, because actually mole implied that implies I'm a bit more senior than I have, because
could be juniors, that you've made friends with or contacts with at an earlier point.
Yeah, okay. The same moles for that.
Could be someone you went to school with who happens to be at NSA or something like that instead of.
Yeah, or we went to university, or we attended the same university careers fair. And the other one is, I think, he's burglar. So I think the idea is that he's also going to be like, he's not the frontline guy, but if you want someone to analyze stuff, or when you're actually doing a black bag job, maybe he gets involved in, like, he's the one that goes inside to stick the USB drive in the guy's computer.
Sure. I think of there was a Netflix documentary about the New York District Attorney's Office efforts to break the mafia, and one of the stories was how they thought they drugged this dog that was inside a Italian restaurant that the mafia regularly met at, and they were going to go in and place a bug for it. Unfortunately, the dog apparently didn't like whatever it was they had drugged, so one of the agents was trying to...
Oh, there's a great story for... well, it was called Spooks in the UK. I think they called it MI5 in America. And there's a scene where they're breaking someone's house and the cat gets out into the rain. So there's a scene there where they're trying to hurriedly blow drying the cat.
That's great.
And apparently this actually really happened.
Wow.
Their advisors. Yeah, so I think analyst, because obviously background analysing stuff, moles for like contacts, and then burglar for the black bag breaking and entering side of the business.
Sounds great. What about here? Edges. It's right at the start of the section. I am such a dummy. God dang. Some advantages are particularly useful in physical contacts and action scenes. Rather than rolling for these each time they're used in the story, these advantages activate only once per action scene and can provide the characters with one or more edges, which can be spent to activate the advantage's effects. If another move is triggered, providing the player with additional edges, they forfeit any edges as not already spent. So, there we go.
Cool.
Then, so that was, you're taking Burglar and Moles and the other one was Archivist?
Analyst, yeah.
Cool. And then, Sean, what are you thinking for your character?
There are some good ones. I'm thinking...
Like, for those listening at home as well, oh my goodness. I'm going to close my office door here in a second, or at least close it so we're not getting quite as much Anna today. There's about 20 pages of advantages, and they only, take up, there's about 4 or 5 per page. Mm-hmm. So there's tons of really great options for customizing your character. What were you thinking?
I'm thinking, so first of all, the Contagious Insanity is way too tempting. That is, I think that so I can allow like whatever's I can have some ability to facilitate whatever's happening to me to happen to someone else. So they kind of get, they get affected by it.
Yep.
So using my disadvantage as an advantage to let it feast on them for a moment is good.
It's cool.
So that looks pretty sweet. Daredevil is tempting. Like he feels like he's kind of already dead. So it's like, he's not as worried about. He doesn't look at dying in the same way anymore, and he's sort of worthless at home anyway. So like, he's just not as like, oh God, I can't possibly die. He's like, So it leads him to being, I'll take care of it. I'll go do it, or whatever. He's not quite as worried about getting shot or getting, it's fine. I'm already kind of half there.
Yeah. So which one is that?
That's Daredevil.
Daredevil. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So those are probable. And Street Contacts is interesting. Like, when I was missing, maybe like, there are probably low-level type people. And I'm even thinking that would deny knowing me. I mean, something weird, something confusing. The usual, like, what's going on? Like, he says he doesn't know you, and he doesn't seem to know you, but you say you know him, or, anyway, something very confusing and hard to put your finger on. But
does he have any memory lapses apart from the incident itself?
I would think, yeah. I mean, I think that's an easy one.
That's pretty cool. That's interesting then, because I mean, he may very well have like, the scene from Seven where they go and they meet the greasy guy in the diner, kind of thing. You may go there and then someone may sit down and act as if you know them, or as if they know you, but you have no fucking recollection.
Right. And yep. No, that's I think that's so. Those 3 are, I think, my top ones. Wayfinder is a little similar to that, except it's with direction. Okay. Like I've been there, but I don't remember being there, and yet I know something about it, kind of a thing-ish.
Okay.
So that's in that direction. So that let's let me quickly.
Sure.
Yeah. Let me take one more quick look at intuitive.
Okay.
Just real quick.
How old do you think your characters are?
I was thinking maybe 25, 26, in the first 2 or 3 years of their job.
Yeah.
For me.
Okay.
I'm thinking 35 looks 55.
After 2 years of pandemic, I know that feeling well.
Yeah. I will momentarily just mention this. It makes me think a little bit. I got the thought of being at home. One of the story of his name's Clint Hill. He's the guy. He's in real life the Secret Service agent that was the closest to John F. Kennedy when he got shot.
Oh yeah.
Great story. That guy and he basically kept it together very briefly. He kept it together until they gave him a desk job, and then he spent 7 years in his basement. So that kind of one of the first things he said after it was over, he said, if I reacted a half second faster, JFK's alive. That's the truth. That's how it is. So just that gnawing at him for years. Anyway, so he spent years in his basement and had to go on medical disability and the whole thing. And so it brings that to mind in real life from.
We were talking about Delta Green before we went live, and we talked about this in the Discord a little bit. But an interesting thing, Shane Ivey, one of the authors of Delta Green, shared that I guess there's some study that suggests that playing Tetris, in the 24 hours after exposure to a traumatic situation where you might develop something like PTSD or intrusive memories, playing that helps prevent that from solidifying.
That's so crazy.
Like an early treatment, just because of the way, I guess, the visual memory thing works with it, and it's not saying that it won't, that will cure it or anything like that. It just means there is a meaningful statistical correlation between forcing your brain to work in that different way. In my day job, I deal with folks who sometimes are dealing with PTSD, and the thing that's recommended for that is cognitive therapy, right? Or one of the treatments for PTSD is cognitive therapy or behavioral therapy, and it's a similar type of thing, right? So it's an interesting idea of how the brain processes trauma, and then how that can lock in over long term or whatever. So
it kind of suggests how little we know about the brain still too.
Totally.
finding something like that out. Really? It's just so interesting,
Yeah, totally. Cognitive behavioral therapy is what I was trying to think of. I'm what is the acronym for it? Or the
So I'm going to go Street Contacts, Daredevil, and Contagious Insanity.
Very cool. All right, so then the next thing, guys, is assigning your attributes. So first, you have your 3 passive attributes: Fortitude, Reflexes, and Willpower. Clearly fans of 3rd edition D&D.
What's the best page for this?
I'm looking just on your character sheet. All you got to do is just you assign +2 to one of them, +1 to another, and +0 to the next.
Okay.
So I can put that in the chat for you guys here if you like.
Oh yeah, page 123 too is what talks about it anyway, if it's helpful. Page 123.
There you go.
Oh, cool. Okay.
There you go. Because this is the same for each of your characters.
All right.
And because we've only got 2 characters as well, I'm thinking that we'll twist the relationships rules a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually we're pretty close. I think we can start playing almost immediately too.
All right. Let's see.
And a banana's settled down as well too. So
Nice.
That's good.
She's settled in.
We're having a bit of an Indian summer here. So we had yesterday, it was almost 20 degrees Celsius, and we went for a walk in an old park near where we used to live, big smiling face, the tongue lolling out. It was so hot.
That's great.
She's a black pup, so she just absorbs the heat like crazy, but it was a happy dog to be out in those leaves.
Happy dogs, happy life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of an Indian summer yesterday, because I managed to go out and have lunch outside by the Castle Mound in Bedford.
Nice. Very nice.
After catching up with the friends at the beer festival.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we treat passive and active separate assignments, right? So passive is its own, I guess.
Yes, we'll do your passive first, and then we'll do your active attributes.
Sounds good. All right.
I'll start putting that in there, what you're assigning as well, too.
These are all...
Zero, -1. Okay.
Interesting.
Oh, okay. Mr. L says diagrams for relationships were part of Vampire the Masquerade from 2nd edition. I don't remember that from those. That may have been something that's from one of the storyteller guides, but I've been... I don't remember seeing those before 5th. But that does not mean they did not exist. It could very well be that it was part of like a description or part of the like advice in one of the storyteller guides or something. And honestly, I was more into mage and werewolf than I was vampire, so I could very well have just not read it. Okay, are you guys finished up with your primaries or your secondary attributes?
Yes. Let's see here.
Okay, and there's what you're assigning for your primary attributes next. Cool. And that's to charisma, coolness, intuition, perception, reason, soul, and violence. And again, you might want to double check what your attributes or your advantages use if you want to, try and min-max the benefits.
Yep.
To make sure you're actually good at the stuff you think you're going to be good at. Okay. I'm going to grab me one of my handouts for player moves, so I can have that on hand. Another nice game. When I picked up a bunch of accessory stuff for this game, I also picked up the dice, and then immediately realized that I don't roll the dice in this game.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, I run most of my games online anyway, so I don't roll dice at all. But
well, you're ready for that in-person marathon.
Exactly. I'm actually thinking now that we were picking this out again too, we might have an opportunity to get some friends together while I'm back home.
Cool.
Everyone's got their second or third jabs already, so I think everyone's jabbed up. So we are good to meet up. And if we do, I'll maybe bring this back because that'd be a fun. We can do character generation and play a short, adventure.
Mm-hmm. This sheet looks worked on since the last time I've seen it. Is it worked on?
I haven't taken. Let me take a look. I'll look at one of the NPCs.
I could be wrong. It looks a little bit better. A little better than. It was fine before, but it looks like it's.
Yeah, no, it did. They've added texture to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, it is improved, and the color matches the color scheme of the what do you call it? Of the book now.
Nice.
Yeah, this looks great. Wow. Nicely done. While we're waiting, the Kickstarter rewards for the last Kickstarter for Divinity Lost are coming out soon as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I backed you're talking about the most recent one?
Yes.
Yeah, I backed that too.
And I can't remember if it's a free one or if it's just a quick start, but there is a really cool short adventure they released unrelated to the Kickstarter that you can either pick up for cheap or for free, set in 50s LA.
I think it's free.
Oh, it's free, yeah. I
think so. Yeah.
Super, if you really want to get a sense of this in a very, kind of LA noir type, situation. I mean, it's not LA noir. It is set in the 30s, I think, not the... Or is it 50s? Maybe it is 50s.
No, it is 50s. Because it's got an amazing soundtrack.
Oh.
Obviously, you can't use it, but there's a brilliant soundtrack, and it's really got the rain on the windows, the saxophone.
Oh, nice.
Where you're sitting out there in the stakeout in the 50s car.
Oh, cool. Well, it is. It's because it's 50s, I think, 50s Las Vegas, with all those pre-gen characters for it. It's a pretty good adventure.
Cool.
And not quite as traumatizing. A lot of the adventures from the adventure compendiums for Kult all have set characters. Like you hand out characters and then you play these characters, as opposed to being like the way a Call of Cthulhu one. Although some of the new Call of Cthulhu ones are doing the exact same thing, where they've got pre-gens and the adventures are linked to those characters. But the way the old Call of Cthulhu ones, where whatever investigators you want come in and then play through that adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then, let's see here. Have you guys assigned your attributes?
Yeah.
Very
just level that up.
close.
Okay. Show you 1 at +3, 1 at +2, 2 at +1, and then 1 at +0, 1 at -1, 1 at -2.
Yeah, that works, I think.
Okay, perfect. Perfectum. Thanks, Jeffrey. Jeffrey didn't threaten or warn about us being a threat to the universe today. He had to run early, so just said nice stuff about us. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, what a way to... our October is mostly bereft of any horror stuff, apart from the usual kind of... some of the horror stuff I put into our regular games.
Yeah.
So I'm great. I'm really grateful that we get a chance to get this to the table. So are all the attributes set now, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's talk. We'll go back and forth about these. We're going to talk about the looks. So how do these characters look? And you can also, as we do in many of our modern day games, you can feel free to cast your character as a specific actor if you like as well. The first looks are clothes. So the things we're going to look at is clothes, face, eyes, and body. Do either of you guys have an image in your mind for what the distinguishing features, like if we were to read about your character in the opening paragraph where they are introduced, what would we be reading about or noticing if this character was being introduced on screen?
For mine, it stems from the fact that he rarely leaves home. He doesn't, is unkempt, so he doesn't, kind of. There's no purpose for that anymore. Doesn't really bother with that. Doesn't really think about it, and so he's got a little bit of the, kind of that little hairs going a little bit here and there, and probably unshaven, definitely unshaven. And got some layered clothing on that doesn't really work. Like, what were you thinking?
Yep.
And I'm not even like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just not. That's not a thing.
Oh, we just lost. USB came out. Yeah, no problem, Mo. Yeah, that's awesome. And then Mo, what are you thinking? Oh, we got you in panoramic. No. Mo, can you hear us? Is he out of the call? Let's see. No, he's in the call. Okay. Let's see. Can you hear us? If you were to cast your character as a actor, do you have one in mind, or is this more of a you've got a something different from from what there isn't an actor that fits the idea you got in your mind?
Sorry, is my mic working now?
Oh, we can hear you now. Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, I just nudged the
No problem.
USB cable and Zoom just like quits
No
down
problem.
on
It
me.
happens.
All right, sorry.
So we're talking about the looks. Sean was just sharing. Why don't you tell Mo what you're picturing for your character?
Yeah, it really comes from the fact that he's just at home all the time, and probably drinks too much, and he's a smoker. All the classic. It doesn't unshaven, unkempt, and has his clothing mismatches that clearly shows he doesn't give it a second thought. He just puts something on because he's cold, and that's about it. And so that pretty much dominates his appearance.
Okay. And Mo, what do you think of? I guess a Special Agent Mike Anderson is your character's name?
Whether they call them that, I'm not sure how they do grades in.
I think they're, unless you're a supervisor at Special Agent.
Yeah,
And then I believe it goes like Special Agent in charge, or something to that effect. Like it's fairly matter of fact.
Yeah.
Mike's probably a bit more casual than the average FBI agent.
So let's quickly talk about what the FBI is about. So one of the ways that the FBI differs from other organizations, from other law enforcement agencies, is process. process is the big thing from the FBI. And I'm not saying your character needs to fit in this, but this is the thing that they value. The process is the reason that they are successful, is because they will methodically go through step by step by step by step to follow every, potential lead or whatever to exhaust things. That is the mindset of the FBI, is dogged attention to process. Now, that doesn't mean your character has to be that, but like someone who's a loosey-goosey kind of character is going to be a very, very poor fit with the FBI, and that would make sense if your character, is on the outs, with the agency.
Well, I imagine he's probably wearing chinos, or possibly some. What I mean, he isn't wearing the black suit, the black tie look. So it's basically lab technician type look. So jeans or chinos.
So for sure,
a t-shirt with.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be the oddball and not going to.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the oddball, backroom boffin. Probably has a t-shirt that says "Process is my Valentine," or has jokes about ISO 9000. So
again, like the whole, there's a reason you always see
he is into the process. So
no, but the thing is that like so you understand what then your character's relationship to the rest of the FBI will be, is that no one will trust you, no one will think that you are competent, because that's what they value, is rigid attention to. There's a reason they all wear drab suits and
he's more of the outsider in the group, as it were.
Yep.
But he still works there, he does the stuff. But I quite like the idea that they think he's a bit weird.
So that means you're going to have no contact with the public when we're starting our game. You will not be assigned any work. That's why you're the backroom guy for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the character, because that's how we then
develop. It's just like, so you understand
that's fine. That's how I imagine
this isn't like, the FBI is not like, a 80s cop movie where it's like, you're
he's
the renegade.
Not the guy jumping over the bonnet of the car.
Exactly. It's just not. I will say, like, Delta Green has a ton of great advice on specific insights into the specific agencies for game purposes. So it's a good resource for that, because I'm pretty sure that's where I got that from. Mm-hmm. And then having seen things like there's that film about the Mueller investigation. Not the Mueller investigation, the email investigation for the Comey movie, Comey Rule or whatever else. It was an interesting way of seeing, a dramatized version of what an FBI investigation is like, from the inside.
It was a show. What was it?
TV show. Yeah, it's called the Comey Rule.
Okay.
It's not great. Like, it was written about the investigation and the timing of it into Hillary's emails. Gotcha. I don't want to make the political, comments one way or the other, but it's an interesting insight just for the purpose of seeing the process of FBI and what they value. It's a neat insight into it. It's Jeff Bridges? No, not Jeff Bridges. Jeff Daniels plays James Comey in it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what your character looks like. Now let's talk about relationships. Instead of having let's see here, these be about your characters, let's add some NPCs into the mix here. So first, between your two characters, and I mean, I guess you guys don't really well, do you know each other or do you not? What do you think? Have you met? Have you heard of each other?
I think so. I would I think it's an easy let's see.
Yeah, I think maybe my occult experience was whatever affected you.
Yeah, I mean, they tie in, like you probably either you knew me or you knew my partner that disappeared.
Yeah, maybe I knew your partner, and then when I was looking into the disappearance, I then knew you through that route.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm kind of I'm obviously not heralded. There's the heroes, and then there's the that guy. Like he lost his partner, doesn't know what happened to his partner. Seriously, how do you not know what happened? Like, you were right there. This kind of a and then walks out of an alley one day or whatever we come up with that it just that's really not working.
So
for
one
us.
of the suggestions under the agent is you possess compromising information about one of the characters' past. So maybe Special Agent Anderson has some compromising information about Sam. Who is it, Sam or Samuel?
So I was thinking to myself that he used to be he's Sam Jaspers, but when he came back, he calls himself Samuel Joseph. No one knows why. Like it's just a okay, it's one more like whatever you say, man. Like this kind of a and hopefully obviously it's a one I guess a one shot, not a campaign, but if it ties into something like maybe it might mean something, but who knows? It's kind of
love it. Okay, so Samuel, and he's one of those. Well, it's funny. Like I rarely people call me. I mean, they're people who are friends or whatever else, they call me Kev. But my name isn't one of those names that's perennially shortened. Whereas like Mo, I don't know if I'm sure I'm not the only one who routinely calls you Mo. But I know people who are like, no, it's Walter. Don't call me Walt. That kind of thing. Samuel may be that kind of person now, right?
But it only happened when he disappeared. Like it wasn't a fastidious, grow up thing. This is a disappearance thing, and he doesn't have an explanation for it. He doesn't offer one. He just says, "My name is Samuel Joseph."
What's the tone he takes when he explains that? Is it aggravated? Is it exhausted? Is it saddened?
Like he knows something.
Okay.
It's matter of fact, like, come on.
Yeah.
We both know my name is Samuel Joseph. Okay.
Okay. And then for Mike, what do you think the compromising information is?
On me?
No, it's that you have on Samuel. And we don't even have to have what the specific thing is. It might be a letter. It might be like you can just define it that loosely right at this point.
Maybe when he came back as Samuel, they did a medical workup on him, and I've got like his CAT scans or something else, and there's discrepancies.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then so looking at the Broken's suggested relationships. The four ones that are suggested there are: one of the characters is trying to get you back on your feet again. One of them was with you when you were broken. One of the characters is your closest friend, and then it's five. Sorry, one of the characters was the reason you were broken, and then you are angry with one of the characters. Do any of those you think apply to Special Agent Anderson?
Let's see. What page you on?
I'm on page 55.
I think that back on my feet again is a possibility. Like, he may feel a little more. I wasn't sure what direction this was going to go, but maybe because of that, maybe he actually you could certainly see him being resentful because his friend disappeared and I somehow didn't do anything about it or whatever. But instead, maybe he's sympathetic, and that could come from his occult knowledge that some people are like just rejecting it, like you are lost, you're broken, you're a psychotic, moving on. Whereas he understands, he's sympathetic. If he doesn't understand it, maybe he understands it a touch, because he's like, he knows there's more to this. Like it's not quite like that. And so maybe that. Yeah.
Okay, and that's to Special Agent Anderson.
Yes, I mean that was my thought. If that's okay with Mo.
Yeah, I mean it may be. I can sort of understand whatever experience I had. I think there's maybe more to this, and I'm trying to encourage him to shower, shave, get out and see people. Probably come down with pizza and beer occasionally for a big game or what have you.
Right. Get out of the house.
Okay. And then next thing you guys need, this is actually the last thing you need to decide, is 3 additional relationships. This is where we're introducing NPCs. One of them will be neutral, one of them will be meaningful, and one of them will be vital. So what 3 NPCs, and like, just from the story you guys have developed thus far, I can think that the either any surviving or other family that Samuel has, or any surviving family that your partner had, maybe, maybe fodder for that stuff.
Yep. I think probably a family member of his. I think maybe an agent on the case that was not in the room. So he was like outside, like go in the back in case the guy runs out the back. That guy,
yep.
So he's not.
And what's this guy's name?
Jimmy Valentino.
Jimmy Valentino, okay. And where I think there is a spot on your character sheet for this as well.
Relations, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Under relations, and then so tell me a little bit more about, or tell us a little bit more about the nature of the relationship with Jimmy.
Let's see. I think Jimmy was outside. So when this all went down, and so like I disappeared on him. We all disappeared on him, and I came back in under bizarre circumstances. So I think I'm like a hole in his. So FBI agent. He wants to understand.
Yep.
And this is like one of the most meaningful things in his entire career, at least to this point. And so I'm just this question mark. And he doesn't. It's not so much that he hates me. Or he loves me, or he cares about me. It's more like there's something he doesn't get it, and it kills him. Like he's like,
may I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
That if this person is there going on the like lazy screenwriters, need versus want tension thing, this may be someone who wants to just forget whatever happened there and leave it behind, but really needs to address the lingering mystery that's there, because that's just sort of core to what that person is. And if Jimmy is still, or Special Agent Valentino, yeah. Valentino. If Special Agent Valentino is still part of it, this may be someone who, this could be fodder for Mike's rival. Right? Because if Mike maybe wanted, like, don't you want to find this out? And the rival's like, fucking shut it down! Yeah. But the tension there is that, like, really, this character, if he did just let this stuff resolve out, he wouldn't be as angry and he wouldn't be as aggressive towards and punitive towards Mike.
Works with me. Works for me.
Does that sound okay, Mo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was thinking him neutral. Does that sound...
For you, yeah.
Yeah, for me. Yep.
And then that will be... the rival. I'm obviously cribbing a little bit from what's his name, Skinner from X-Files, where he's super aggressive and whatnot at first too, but then you find out like, oh, you had a paranormal experience. Yeah, that's why you're an asshole. Mo, do you want to introduce your first relationship?
Well, I think the neutral one would be the team leader.
Okay, and who are you thinking? Tell us a little bit about that person.
They're probably in their sort of like late 30s.
So focus more on the nature of the relationship to
right.
you, right? Like, we want to find out why this person is dramatically important for the purpose of your character.
Interesting. I think really, obviously, the team leader is the one that gives out the jobs, possibly runs a bit of interference for him.
Okay.
Because he knows that, if they need to have someone that can climb up the drain pipe at 3 a.m., that Mike's the one to go to.
Okay.
So it's probably, a very professional relationship. Possibly a little bit of mentoring, but not major. I've got some better ideas for that.
Okay, so is this a man or woman?
Let's roll it. Man.
Man, okay. Do you have a name in mind?
Andy Newsom.
Andy Newsom?
Yeah.
Okay. So Special Agent Newsom. Okay, I think Special Agent in Charge Newsom. All right. And then, Sean, you want to tell us about your next relationship?
It's going to be, and here's a thought. I think, so my missing partner, what about his name is Joseph? And because now I've taken the last name Joseph, and it's like, dude, did you just name yourself after him, or what are you doing? Like, I mean, some kind of weird, just to tie it in.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So his name's what did I just say? Joseph Peters. His name's Joseph Peters.
Okay.
And his daughter's name is Jenny Peters. So Jenny Peters is the person, is the relation. And she in a little bit along the lines of Valentino, but different. She kind of needs me. She needs me, like I'm the connection to her father. So her father disappeared. She's left with nothing. So she's part of the wreckage of a missing person. All the missing person wreckage.
I don't want to impose anything that you not want with your character, but I mean, it is not unknown for partners to be the godparents of their respective parents, depending on the nature of your character's religion. Godparents can be an important part of their life.
Yeah. I was thinking that she would be a little older. I mean, that she's an adult. Let me think about this.
Speaking from experience, if you're in your late 30s, you can have an adult child.
That's true. Right. I was just trying to make all the math work. Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, she's a young adult.
Again, you don't have to accept that whatsoever.
No, that's good. Yeah. So I am her godfather, and I'm also like her connection. Like, she's got this missing father. What to think about that? Is he still alive? Who knows?
Is her mother still around?
I want to say her mother is broken, but just not like me.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not bizarrely broken. She's just kind of more mundane broken.
And so then, is Jenny the only member of Joseph's family that still kind of speaks to you?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's she has an uninvolved brother. That doesn't provide her anything. Okay. So it even makes her focus on me all the more. Mother's in a bad shape. Okay. And brother's like off living his life across the country, and she's like, seriously? Like, we've got a situation over here, and he's just like, somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so she,
Question: is Samuel living in the same place he was before, or has he relocated? Like, is he sort of effectively in hiding, or is he living in the same place he was when this incident occurred?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking that he just hadn't bothered, and so he would live in the same place. But the hiding is intriguing.
Well, let's chew that over. Let's see if Mo, do you have another your next relationship?
In a meaningful one, I was thinking, as you mentioned, Endeavour, someone who's like the coroner in Endeavour.
Yep.
And I'm imagining this would be a woman, probably played by Nicola Walker, or possibly. Gone blank. The actress that played Scully.
Oh, Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay.
So possibly this was how I got some info on Samuel's.
Cool. Yeah, I just looked up. I'm not familiar with Nicola Walker. I just looked it up now. I recognize her from. I'm sure she's been in stuff I've seen. Just.
Yeah. Yes, more of a UK actress, but she was Ruth in Spooks. MI5. But
cool.
It could be though. So sort of in their sort of early 50s. Wouldn't quite say jaded, but sort of like wedded to the job, with the occasional nip of gin from a flask or something.
Do you have a name for this doctor?
I don't actually.
I will let you think about that, and we'll check back in with...
let me think about the name while you're doing...
Sure. Yeah, so, Sean, you were mulling over whether you live in the same place or whether I can tell you the reason I asked is because I've got I was trying to think in my mind how Jenny would contact you. Mm-hmm. You know, if she'd be able to pop in on you, or whether she would have to, you know, email you or call you or something like that in order for you to make an arrangement for her. I don't know how paranoid, rightfully or not, you are, particularly if you got a stalker.
I think that I like the idea of he's hiding, and I think he as much as he would like to use a burner phone, he keeps his old phone. Okay. So he's got his old cell phone. She's got it, you know, and he might even kind of squat in a, you know, like in a as an agent. He's got some skills that, you know, what would you do? And he's seen it before. Like, he's tracked people doing this. So like he found a place that was, you know, that someone got evicted and no one moved in, and like, yeah, that's cool, that'll work. Yeah. You know, like, so he basically squats in a reasonable, functioning. You know, it's not a burned out place. It's a, you know. Yeah. So she can call him, and she knows where he lives because she's, you know, she kind of pesters him because she's emotionally needy and needs to keep a connection with him. Well, and I'm kind of I was thinking about where in the U.S. to situate this, and I kind of landed on Detroit. Because, and I know that the reality of Detroit right now is maybe different from this, but there's a really interesting documentary called Atropia that talks about like the things. It's a little like there is definitely a little bit of nauseating, like the celebrating of gentrification that comes from the documentary, a little bit much, but I mean, like, it really does give an accurate portrayal of like what happens to a city when the fucking city's bankrupt. You know, like when whole city, like there, you know, 6 blocks in every direction, and there's no people living in those houses anymore. You know, and so that kind of staggering urban decay, I think, is sort of, you know, and it may have been when Mr. L mentioned the what do you call it, World of Darkness as well too. Those were situated kind of around Detroit and Flint, not Flint, but there was what was it? Or was Chicago, actually? That was around Chicago. Gary, Indiana. Yeah, and in the core rulebook from way back in the day. How does that sound, guys? Do you think Detroit might be? Yeah. Sounds good. Let me see where the FBI. And then, do you have a name for us for the doctor? The doctor? For Mo? Oh, sorry.
I think Jade. Jade. I'm trying to think of my last name there.
There is an FBI field office in Detroit as well, too.
I think Jade Cooper.
Jade Cooper, okay. All right. And then, Sean, you want to tell us about the vital relationship that Samuel has? Or was that Jenny?
No, I went back and forth. I think it could go either way, but I think she's probably, though I'm vital to her, she's meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the third one, I don't have it really completely thought out, but someone that is occultish, someone like a medium or like a grandmother, like someone that I have like no reason to know, and yet I do know her. So like all these other people, as part of my advantage, these people, as we discussed in Street Contacts, like they'll walk up to me like they know me, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. I'm that way with her. So yeah. I know who she is, and she doesn't know who I am, but she knows enough to know why it's happened. So she's kind of in the know, and so I'm drawn to her because she's a a medium or someone sensitive to this, or that kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, what about what about a what do you call it? Fortune teller kind of thing, maybe someone who was a Eastern European kind of, her little, shop is the only building that still has power on it in the block.
Yeah.
Everything else is boarded up and whatnot, but there's a regular stream of people coming in and out.
Yeah, and commercial, maybe even commercially questionable, like one of those, like, seriously, yet, like I know that that there is there is something here,
Yeah.
So I'm drawn to her, and she's amused by it because she actually does have knowledge. She is sensitive or knowledge, and she knows why.
Do you have a name for this woman?
Not yet. Let's see.
Not yet? Okay. Well, how about what, like, age is she? Are we thinking like one of those, like, indescribably old?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And actually, in 8, you don't know. Like, it's one of those where, you know what, she could be 50, she could be 80. You're not even, like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of.
What do you think about her? Because especially if you're FBI, if she is Eastern European, this is someone with a harsh experience with life under Soviet rule, right? So this is someone who could be very much like knows exactly what you're coming from.
Yeah. Or that what was, like, the last dictator over there? I'm thinking
there still
Romanian?
is in
Romania,
Turkmenistan.
No. Okay.
Romania was Ceausescu, which was brutal.
So anyway,
a lot
something
of
like that. Something that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love it. It could be also Tito from Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm picturing her with a very ethnic name that I don't know at this very second. Like something that you're like, kind of screams old country.
Yep. Super. Yeah. Lots of Cyrillic lettering.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So if anyone, feel free, anyone knows more than I do for a good one like that, I'll have to look it up. So
what you could do is just do a Google search of like Slovak names, and I'll bet you that would give you a good bunch of good suggestions for for where to attribute this. It also might be someone who with the Yugoslav conflict too in the 90s, she could have come over at that point when she was already old. And the 90s are now 30 years ago, so
unbelievable.
It certainly would.
Like Mia Furlan, or the late Mia Furlan.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because she had there with the announcement of the new BAB 5 thing coming out. Michael Straczynski's been talking about the accent, people complaining about the accent she was putting on, and it's like, no, this is her. She's got like 5 other languages under her belt. English is her 6th, and she has an accent that we're just not familiar with.
Right.
So yeah, totally.
And playing an alien as well.
Yeah. So Mo, do you have an idea for Mike's vital contact?
I think his vital contact would be his girlfriend.
Okay, yeah.
Who I'm calling Amber Green as a name.
Okay.
And she also works for either another agency or possibly more like one of the more civilian adjuncts, or possibly a civilian
What if she works
company.
for the Justice Department?
Okay, yeah. Can make her a lawyer or something.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of lawyers in the FBI as well, too. But... So Amber Green, so that's cool. How long have you guys been together?
I think maybe they hooked up at college.
Okay.
So effectively, they're both in their first jobs. So she's just
first degree or second degrees?
Of course, she'd have to say passed her bar exams, wouldn't
well, and
she?
also, I mean, it's depending. It's not unusual for FBI agents nowadays to have master's degrees as well. So your character, for instance, might have a master's in something.
Well, yeah, it is a bit greater question. Yeah, we say we've both done masters, and then she's. Can you just go
what I'm
direct
asking
to
is
being
whether,
a
like, did you
lawyer,
guys meet and hook up in undergrad, and then she went on to law school, you went on to grad school, or did you guys meet while you were at grad school and she was at law school?
When we were undergraduates.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so long time. Okay. All right.
And I'm kind of assuming we went to a local university to Chicago, whichever the good one is.
Well, we're in Detroit, remember? Not.
Sorry, Detroit. Yeah, I'm a bit.
I mean, you guys could have gone
actual...
away too. Like, it's not unusual for people to be reassigned within the, within the federal government. So, and the Yeah, and then if she's with, she is a U.S. prosecutor. Like that's the folks with the real hammer, the U.S. Attorney, as opposed to a state, district attorney. Yeah, they're the ones with the real, a friend of mine worked for them before he came up to Canada. And he was saying, like, yeah, like the difference between the two is that, like, the district attorney is dealing with a lot of the penny ante crime stuff and whatnot, whereas the United States attorney, like, that's the reason that Martha Stewart went to jail. Is because they don't fuck around.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bronislava Yosefevsky. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Love
sure.
it. Okay.
Yes. The pronunciation is and I'll point out that the last name has a decent number of characters of Joseph.
Yes, it does. How does she see you, do you think?
I think she's
like something she needs to mind over to avoid a problem. Is it someone that you've got a connection with relating to this disappearance? Did you meet Madame Yosefevsky before all this shit happened, or afterwards?
I think it's afterwards.
Afterwards,
so
okay.
I've like she's she's obviously a con artist, before, to me.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, and it's ridiculous. Come on.
Yep.
Like, it's got the whole crystal ball thing going. Seriously? Like, this is out of a movie. Like, really? People actually pay you? Like, this is remarkable, but...
Yep.
And then afterwards is totally different. And I didn't know her, I don't think, but that's what I would have thought of her, driving by.
Yep.
And then afterwards, I come to her and she doesn't know who I am, but, kind of like when I was standing there looking at her like I know her, she's like, I see, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like she knows something, and she's like, she won't, it's not like she's just opening up to me, but I think she's sympathetic to me in a similar way to Mo's character is sympathetic on a kind of a different level, because he doesn't know as much, presumably, as Bronislava, but because he understands a little, he's sympathetic to me, where people that don't understand me are not particularly sympathetic to me, particularly in the Bureau. But Bronislava knows, presumably, a lot. So she understands, and she's kind of a matronly grandmother-ish sort of thing to me.
Yep.
Depending on her age.
How often do you think, like, how does Samuel interact with her? Does he show up at her place once a week or something like that,
I think so. I always come to her.
Yep.
And she always acts like she's expecting me, irrespective. Okay. And I think it's always at her shop.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's always at her shop. I don't even know where she lives. Maybe, like, she's just she's sort of a puzzle to me. But I know. I know that she knows. She must know. She knows. And so I'm just, kind of like the daughter is drawn to me. I'm drawn to Bronislava.
Well, and I'm kind of picturing, like, her, and you can correct me if this is not how you're seeing it, like her place, like when you show up there, right? Like there may be in the waiting room, like, a young mother with a child, and there may be, a street person in there. There may be someone who clearly is, involved with organized crime, but then the door opens to her, like, chamber, and a person in a suit with a bodyguard makes their way out to the waiting limousine outside, and they drive off.
Yeah, all sorts of weird. Yeah, she's a chamber for weirdness, and like, how in the world does that guy go in here? Like, that kind of a thing. And she just kind of, a slightly toothless grin, not toothless, but, a little bit off, a little bit old school, dental 1800s look.
Well, I mean, honestly, Soviet dental.
Right.
Like one of the gold teeth. There's a neat tidbit about there's a missing body that was found in Norway, I believe. It's this woman who a body was found. It was either a woman who went missing or a body that got found, and they have no idea who this person is. And one of the ways they identified sort of that this person may have been a spy is because the dental work that was used was something that was only used. The orthodontic work was only used in Soviet countries, in the Soviet sphere. Behind
That's
the Iron
interesting.
Curtain. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little tidbit, and I know they use that in I can't remember what show it was I was watching recently, and I'm like, you for sure listened to the same podcast that I did when you wrote this.
Yeah.
Because that idea was stolen.
Yeah.
Okay. I am being right. So with everyone, having met all of our NPCs here and having met these characters too, why don't we take our mid-session break now, guys?
Cool.
Anna Banana is helpfully reminding me that she would like to go outside.
5 minutes?
Would you like to go outside? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, 5 minutes, and we'll be back. So I'll be back momentarily, folks. All right. I yanked my headphones when I was trying to walk away. All righty. Now, let me quickly flip through here. How you feeling about your character, Mo? Oh, you might be muted.
Sorry, I just turned the microphone down when I was away. Yeah, I think he's working quite well. So, and I think going with sort of like well, not quite a random, but just letting what you pick drive the character.
Yeah.
Works really well.
Yeah, it's a really every time I go through the character generation in this game with people, it always is just there's such great story prompts and cool abilities. Like one of the things I really like about the game is the way that you can pick cool stuff your character can do, right? In form of the advantages. It gives you a little more, for a horror game, you wouldn't normally expect to be getting like cool powers, right? But like this is one of the ways you can get neat abilities that only your character can do. That you would not otherwise, that you wouldn't get in, like I say, a Cult of Cthulhu. Or a, to be honest, older versions of Kult as well.
Yeah, I was just checking out where actually the Detroit office is for the FBI.
It is.
Yeah, it's nicely in the center bit. And there's plenty of other federal things around there.
The Patrick V. McNamara Federal Building on 477 Michigan Avenue.
Google Maps is your friend.
Yeah, really.
Well, it gives you a good thing because you can say, "Oh yeah, we're going to like say, what was that deli I just saw?"
Here's my satellite Google Earth. That's your office building.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We use that in a great deal in Night's Black Agents when we played it. Actually, was we using Google Earth and stuff, and it's extremely immersive. I've started adapting for when I run Champions. I try and steal actual street views and then scale them properly so that they've scaled to the maps. So you're actually playing in the streets of New York or the streets of whatever. In my case, Calgary. I constantly there's a seemingly, surprisingly large number of supervillain problems that happen in the city where I live.
Yeah, nice.
At least in the Champions universe. What's
Night's Black Agents guy, the creator? What's his name?
Kenneth Haidt.
Kenneth Haidt, I seem to recall he's talked about that a lot. That man, you can't do better. You can't do better than Google Maps. I mean, Night's Black Agents is modern, so dude, use Google Maps. Stop talking, just use Google Maps. You're good. I
actually read one of the books he recommended as inspiration for it, McMafia.
McMafia?
It's dated now because it was about the spread of international crime following the collapse of the Soviet Union and at the end of the Cold War and into it, the corruption, like the cronyism that kind of populated post-Soviet Eastern Europe, and then the rise of money laundering in places like Dubai and Macau and in South Asia. So it's very, very interesting reading, but
very cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. I'm sure that many of the suggested recommended reading on that is would be appropriate. Okay, so guys, let's talk about very quickly just how we play the game. So I have two handouts in here as well, in addition to your characters, which are the moves. Just like any other Powered by the Apocalypse game. Mo, have you played any Powered by the Apocalypse games like Monster of the Week or Masks: The Next Generation or Apocalypse World?
No, it's not a system I've ever. Yeah, let me just find the handouts. Oh yeah, there we are.
Yeah, here we are. There's one, and there's the other one. So the way that the story is, basically, whenever we would, there's going to be, your characters are going to be affecting a change or going to be affected by something that's happening in the story, we look to the moves to determine sort of how the story changes. You can also take advantage of your advantages that they give you different ways to interact with the story in different ways as well. But like, for instance, I've labeled these backwards. Page 1 is actually number 2.
Okay.
It was an intentional part on me to try and capture the labyrinthine kind of feel of Cult. It's not me mislabeling them.
Second level.
You may think that it's just Kev sloppily labeling the handouts, but I'd call that a scurrilous accusation. So, for instance, if in the course of the story, say that Special Agent Mike, in the course of making his way down a darkened Detroit alley, is set upon by a vagrant and tries to stab you with a rusty knife, I may be asking you to avoid harm. So you, and to be honest, it's really the characters the players who are generally picking what the move is. So you may be avoiding harm if you decide to not just accept getting, injured. If you fail the avoid harm, then I may ask you to endure injury. So you're going to have to roll against something. Keeping it together is the move you use when you are...
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Success with complications. Act under pressure is when you're trying to do something risky. Engage in combat is when you're trying to harm something else. moving to the... I love the color design of the display here, too.
Yeah.
Where it matches the book. Great job on the character sheets. Or on the... yeah. Then under the other one, influence others. So if you're trying to influence someone through negotiation, argument, or position of power, we use this. See through the illusion is what gives you access to the quote-unquote reality of the world. Read a person is trying to gain information from a specific person as opposed to trying to get them to do something. Observe a situation is when you're trying to, again, gain information, but this time through observation of a situation as opposed to an individual. Investigate is one of the things that substantially drives the story of Kult along. Like City of Mist did, is a mystery kind of focused game. And then helping or hindering when you are trying to assist someone in what they are doing. So does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so Mo, like, you'll see the kind of, it'll feel, I think, a lot more natural when you're actually seeing it in, in play. So let's see here. Let's see. And then there are things, I have two kinds of moves that are available to me. I don't know. They don't make a distinction between soft and hard moves in this game. Usually, I'm not able to make moves until I've sort of set things up and given you an opportunity to try and respond to them. So I can't just say your head's blown off or you're shot in the arm or something like that.
Or some of our results,
But the results,
yeah,
like they really drive the
GMs.
Yeah, the GM's ability to interact with the...
GM makes a move.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, love it. Okay, so here is also the horror contract. This is what they suggest. One of the things they talk about in the game is sort of the agreement between everyone involved in the creation of a horror game. Because it's a story game, there is, like I said, the players have a lot more agency over what's kind of happening in the story and what's happening to their characters. The horror contract involves knowing the players, quality before quantity, build the atmosphere, stay in the scene, suggest rather than overwhelm, the inexplicable, create a feeling of exposure, dare to be unpleasant, and create interesting monsters. Now, one of the things that they don't really talk about in this that I kind of wish they... At least I don't remember them talking about it, is kind of an X card type thing of the idea where, what is too much. This game assumes, and the reason I gave the caution at the beginning for people who may not want to expose themselves to that kind of stuff, is they don't really give that as an option. That is, of course, an option that I wholeheartedly embrace. So I don't expect in the next hour of play we're going to get to anything that is like too extreme, but certainly what we would be doing if we're going to play this as an ongoing game is I'd circulate something so that you can each individually reply to me for what are the taboo areas for yourself. I agree, dare to be unpleasant, but that I don't think it in the game, at least as written, does not account for the fact that players may not want you to be going to certain areas, and it isn't expressly drawn out. I really wish they had, because it otherwise would make for a game that I so thoroughly enjoy, and I think it has so many great ideas in it. It is marred a little bit by their unwillingness to accept that, like, some of the extreme stuff they've got in the game is not what everyone wants to be exposed to. But anyway, now your characters. Mo, what is your character? Oh, you said what is he? A Caucasian? Otherwise, what is?
Yeah, he's white. White Irish, I think, might work quite well for Detroit.
Okay. Detroit does have a huge African American population, percentage-wise, as well too. Home of Motown. Also, as my dad would be, home of Ford. As well too. My father is a huge Ford fan, so I would be remiss.
And all the other car manufacturers.
Yeah. My dad is a Ford guy, though, so
Nice.
when we I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but like we as sort of a my first bonus I got in my from my day job once I got out of law school, I used to take my dad on a trip to go to see NASCAR in Charlottesville.
So cool.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm not a NASCAR fan per se, but it was a fucking lot of fun. He thoroughly enjoyed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Ironically, our earliest family car were Fords, the Ford Anglia.
No kidding.
The Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
As well as the soft one beforehand. So
That is, that's interesting.
obviously, they're not as big in the UK as they are in the States.
Of course, yeah.
Harry Potter one is tiny compared to like the.
Well, it depends on the period as well too, because like the post '70s, once like the cars we grew up driving were all like comparable to many European models, like European sedan models. It's not the tiny little hatchbacks like the some of the things that I rode in when I was living in Scotland, but. Anyway, so let's talk about where we open our. So one thing I was thinking about during our break is how long was Samuel missing, and how long has it been since he has returned?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I kind of think it wasn't that long, meaning like it wasn't years or something. Like it's still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Which will, I think, shape perhaps some of the emotions of other agents. Like it's not 5 years ago or something, which would kind of dullen the whole thing a little bit.
Is it the disappearance too, or rather his reappearance? Is it less to do with the time and more to do with the distance? Like that it's not that he disappeared and reappeared 6 days later or whatnot. It's that he disappeared one night or disappeared in the afternoon, and then the following morning he was found somewhere that would be, it's inexplicable how he got there.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That would help. I think that's good because I am thinking that the time that he's gone is short, which obviously makes it less remarkable. And so the more remarkable part, I think that's helpful, because so what is the more remarkable part? I mean, the number one remarkable part is that he wasn't where everyone expected. So that's huge. Like he's in this room, like it's a case, like they're going in, like everyone's very well located. First of all, we all know who's in the room, and yet he's not there. Like, so all these people are gone. What? Like we saw them go in. Like, this is a thing. It's getting videoed. Like this is a case.
Well, and you could almost, not to situate it too much in your backyard too, but if he's in, we could have our opening scene of this flashback is like, winter in Detroit, which is going to be, snow. Their weather is very much like Canadian winter. And it's going to be, people going in. You're the clean-shaven, FBI agent or whatnot too, and then you're missing. Your partner, Special Agent Peters, is missing as well too. We cut to dawn the following morning. Sun is coming up. We see a person with longer hair, a fully grown-in beard and whatnot, standing on the waterfront in San Francisco.
Yeah. I'm even thinking a foreign country.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
So they get a call from the embassy in. And the location should tie in, although I'm not clever enough to know exactly where it should be, but someplace that maybe even what's her name, Bratislava, or maybe even her home country or something to tie it in. I love
it. I love it. That's great.
And so
it could be. Yeah,
they find me, and I've got and basically it happens quickly, maybe because my badge. I've got my badge, and so they're like, this guy is like walks into the embassy. Tries to walk into the embassy and like, okay, let's just hold on there, mister. And the guard's like, and then I've got this badge. So the whole thing happens quickly because of the badge. It gives me some credibility rather than just throwing me in jail.
Absolutely.
And like, okay, he's drunk.
And like, I know the U.S. Marines are the ones who do guard detail at foreign embassies.
I was even thinking a foreign embassy, but that's a possibility too. Let me think about that.
Because if he walks up, like picture that, you go in and then the same bearded man kind of stumbles up on the streets of Sarajevo up to the embassy and holds up his thing. They're like, no, wait a minute. And we see then on the ID card, there's your picture.
Right. And I think that, I mean, I don't even hold it up. I just walk in and they're like, okay, let's just hold on there, sir, and put me against the wall. And I'm, and they find it. It's just in my pocket. They're like, what?
Yeah. And then we see you're, shaven and whatnot. You're on a flight back from overseas,
Yep.
And the cutscene of you being interrogated by everyone, and you're trimmed down and whatnot again, back to your FEI look, but the haunted look, and maybe your cheeks are more sunken in, as if you've lost weight, seemingly
sullen. Yeah. It doesn't even seem possible. Like on the one hand, there's suspicion, like, I shouldn't have been there, but on the other hand, they can't really, they can't connect me with something bad. I mean, how'd you even get out there like that? We know you're in that room, we know it, and yet now you're 4,000 miles away next morning. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't even. There's no box for that on the form. There's a form for this.
If we cut
no
inside
box for that.
The room behind the mirror glass too, we see Special Agent Valentino in there as well too, as the young spry Special Agent Anderson. And everyone's standing in there, and brows furrowed. Everyone clearly has the same questions bearing in their mind, but Anderson is the one who's vocalizing them. That's making everyone angry at him. Like, shut the fuck up, Anderson.
Right.
That sound right, Mo? That's part of the reason you sort of, because you were like, well, hold on. Well, how the hell did he get? And they're like, we don't know. We don't know, motherfucker. Like,
right. And I'm calm. I think I'm probably kind of. I'm not as helpful. I mean, like, I'm not behaving like they expect me to behave.
Yeah.
I know something. It's just puzzling. The whole thing just kind of vague and confusing.
Yeah. Well, and then with his insistence on a different naming convention and stuff like that too.
Like, what are you talking about? We had lunch yesterday. Who are you? This kind of
yeah. So, how old were you thinking that Jenny was then?
I mean, really young. I mean, I think it's best for her to meet an adult, but probably 20 or.
So the reason I'm asking is because if that would be, how old she was at the time of the disappearance as opposed to how old she is now. So if it was like 4 or 5 years, that definitely goes from 15 or 16 years old to 20 years old. She's in college now as opposed to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really thinking the disappearance is brief. It's not years.
I mean, how long ago it was? Like from this incident until today, when the campaign starts, how much time do we think passed?
I mean, I was thinking months, unless it helps.
I want it to be a little more. Yeah, I want there to be a little more legs. Like, you've been living this in the sticks for a while.
Okay.
Anderson has had time to sufficiently find himself ostracized to the basement and whatnot, just to give it a little more.
Well, I'm flexible. What do you think? You could decide that matter. I mean, what would be most helpful? What do you think?
I mean, I think at least 3 years. Just to give 3 years is sufficient time for there to be a substantial, a change in, and also we're seeing Valentino go from being an agent out in the field to someone who's now a supervisor for Anderson, right?
Yes.
That's why I'm thinking that there needs to be a little bit more of a passage of time between the two.
That's fine.
And for you to cultivate your relationship with Madame Yoseveski as well too. That needs some time for that to germinate and develop.
Okay.
So what do you? I'm between 3 to 5 years. What's your preference?
3.
3 years. Okay. All right. Mo, how's Amber reacting to the sort of turn in your career prospects within the FBI?
Probably exasperated, and she's probably like, "Yeah, you've got to try and like wear a suit." Probably sort of like pushes me into, when I'm giving evidence, make sure I wear a suit, does my tie, but I sort of relapse when I go back to the office. So yeah, she's probably a bit exasperated. Yeah, but she knows that's my inherent character, I think.
Right. And again, like, I don't want to keep harping on this, Mo, but like, it just would be completely unacceptable for your character to be in any kind of relationship where anyone else in the agency is dealing with you where you're not wearing a suit. It is just an accepted part of FBI culture. So
Yep,
you're
okay.
like effectively your career is dead as long as your character is presenting the way that he is. And that's sort of, I mean, it sounds like that fits with what you're.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not really that bothered about playing the political games. You know, he's just like doing the interesting stuff.
Okay. All right. I mean, what he considers interesting, at least, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that you are sort of relegated at this point to being effectively the file clerk. So you are like an evidence management thing, which you're happy with because you get a chance to dig into some of the weirder stuff that's in there. And Andy Newsom is going to be someone who's sort of responsible for that unit. So, like, when things are going to trial, you need to get the evidence ready so that it's presented to people, or handle things coming in and out of the forensic units, which may have been how you got in contact with Dr. Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So I think that our first scene will open with Special Agent Anderson. We see you at your workstation. You're on a break right now, so you're clearly having your lunch. We know that your workstation is located in the bowels of the building. Mm-hmm. You know, what do we see as as we come across your character?
It's a sort of a dingy basement. There's probably old filing cabinets, possibly some old furniture in the background. You can see a computer, but it's obviously the previous generation. There's a couple of spare monitors, mismatched, sort of perched on like books, but he's obviously not getting the good stuff, so he's had to like scavenge from the spare parts bin. Yep. And he's sort of like probably got he's checking out, maybe he wants to go hiking next month with his girlfriend. And he's got like Subway or some sort of like brown bag type lunch he's sort of eating.
One thing, sorry guys, one thing we need to do, actually, there are some disadvantages that we need to roll for first. So let's see here. Now, I think, I can't remember the character sheets. Are you able to add in rollable features for your disadvantages? Let's see here.
It's not immediately apparent.
It's just a text box, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're just going to roll. Yeah, because I think. Let's see here. So first, for Mo, we got your rivals disadvantage. Why don't you give us a 2d10 roll, please?
It's not modified by anything, then.
It is not. 10. No, 10. Okay, you've given your rival an opportunity. The GM takes one hold. A GM can spend hold to make a move on behalf of your rival. For instance, the rival may get an important person on their side, sabotage one of your projects, extort you with evidence damaging to your reputation, or take desperate measures to get rid of you permanently. So, let's see here. I'm going to grab... What would I use? Let's use... Let's use. I'll also use a card here as one of my hold. All right, so I know I got one hold I can use. Then, Sean, would you give us a 2d10 roll for Stalker?
So I'm involuntary medium. My
Oh, I thought you took. Oh, you took involuntary medium. Forgive me.
I think Mo took Stalker.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm. Yeah. Let's see here. So ignore me. You don't need to roll that. Then Mo, give us a 2d10 roll for your Stalker. 11. Your enemies are on to you. The GM takes one hold. GM can spend hold to make a move for your pursuers. For example, a trusted associate has been paid off by them. One of your loved ones or allies disappears. Something you are trying to do is undermined by your enemies, or they actively try to hurt you. Okay. So I got two hold. One for relating to your rival, one related to the Stalker. Then, that's interesting. So if you're... I wonder if we're going to be doing involuntary medium every time you meet with Madame Yoseveski.
At that, I think that's reasonable. That sounds.
She is tight with the spirits.
Yeah, she is.
All right, so then
Strange things happen in her room in there.
Yeah. So you're working away, Special Agent, or Mike, I guess, as you would prefer. When do you have headphones on? Do you think, or are you?
Probably not when he's eating. He's probably got a decent headset. It's obviously his own, and possibly even a third-party headphone amp stacked to one side.
Okay.
Because he's probably got more or less a little cubby of his own, so he's slightly non-standard stuff. But so he's got his headphones off. He's probably looking for the local trails. Maybe I'm not quite sure where the nearest national park is.
Yep.
But yeah, he's sort of like planning for a long weekend or a week away hiking with his girlfriend or something.
Okay. So what? So you're sort of getting your stuff ready there too, and you hear, or I guess maybe you hear the ringing of your phone buried under some. Some stacks of paper, because like who the hell ever call? Actually, they would be calling you regularly. So Yeah.
But yeah, his desk isn't particularly tidy, I would imagine.
Okay.
I'm playing myself here a bit. So I pick up the phone and say, Mike Anderson, whatever my job title is.
Yeah.
I do my official answering the phone voice.
Sure. So you do that, and what you hear is that there is someone at the reception area who apparently needs to see you. Okay.
Who is it?
They say they give you a name, but it means nothing to you. At least not initially.
Okay. I'll be up in 10 minutes.
Okay.
I assume it's a long walk to the reception from where I am.
From where you are, yeah. There's a lot of different checkpoints you're going through. Not checkpoints, but like security areas where you got to zip your card and whatever. We see you walk out, and then the area is one of those places that feels both like large and filled with light, but very cold and sterile. There's big windows out front. As you walk past the reception area, you kind of look at the security guards that are working at the front desk there, and I don't think they recognize who you are. Or maybe, what do you think? Do you think they would know who you are?
Depends if they're good security guards. They probably would know people, but
okay.
It does depend how many. Yeah, it's quite a big building, isn't it? So, and
it's all security controlled entrances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Post 9/11, so they may not need to know, as long as you got the pass card. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll walk up to the. I assume they've got like either turnstiles or even whether they'd go for the whole like.
I think there's probably there's definitely metal detectors that you're going through to get inside the actual building, but the people, once you've already walked past that, it's the actual reception area before you're trying to get access to the interior of the building. There's two men who are sitting there, and they one of them kind of walks up at you, and then it has the look that you are sure that they give members of the public, and then he sort of spots your lanyard with your FBI ID on it, and he as you walk up and they can see your ID, he looks down and he says, Special Agent Anderson?
Yeah, that's me.
And he points over into towards one side of the open atrium. I'm picturing that there are sofas that are set, out there with a kind of like a table in the middle for people to either wait until they get access to people inside or who are waiting to meet with people. And there is a young woman who is pacing there. Sean, why don't you tell us what Jenny looks like?
Right, and one thing I want to add, Kevin, that came to me on a question you asked me about what Bronislava is, what I am to her.
Yep.
It's possible that as I read the involuntary medium as that I'm an open vessel, it's possible she looks at me, whether it's been developed or not, that I could be a vessel for her. Like when people come to her saying wanting to speak to someone or something, it's possible I'm useful for that. But anyway, I'm just going to leave that in.
Not to be morbid, but the closer she gets to the grave, the more tenuous her connection might be, right? It could be something that, like, it's like when you're more vibrant and full of life, that's an easier conduit for the afterlife to sort of pass through, or the other world at least. And whereas the closer you get, the more frayed, the more closer you are to joining that world. You know.
Yep. So Jenny is. She used to be vibrant, and she still can be in some contexts, but the closer she gets to anything regarding her father, she gets a little frail. And so being in the building where he worked and that she's been in before because of him, probably just on a casual basis, or, daughter going with dad once or something, she's familiar with it. And so she's looking kind of furtive. She's looking frail and vulnerable. Although she's dressed reasonably.
Yeah, and she's pacing. What you can see is that there are no other people around her. She seems, again, like the place feels very sterile and vacant. Every footstep on the tile floor echoes off, in the building, and you can see she is pacing back and forth, checking her phone, and there is what looks to be like a butcher's paper wrapped package sitting on a table next to her. Why don't you, let's get the dice rolling here. Mike, why don't you give us a read a person check here. Make a read a person move. That'll be under intuition.
Nice.
That's my bad skill.
No problem.
So no modifier, straight.
Yep. Nice.
There you go.
Success with complications. Okay, so that means you may ask me one question while you're in conversation with this person. Examples are you lying? How do you feel right now? What are you about to do? What do I wish I would do? Or how could I get you to, and then there's ... like whatever. But let me see what the complication is here. Let's see.
So I don't recognize.
You've never seen this young woman before in your life.
All right. So he didn't have a picture of her in his. Well, we're not quite sure where he's staying, is he? No. Okay. So I think
like you've got a lot of stuff. This thing with Samuel, like that case, it's something that you're interested in, but it doesn't occupy your life 24/7. And if you, as you've been saying, you've been planning something for the long weekend with your girlfriend, your concerns may be more on the everyday. Just reading the complication thing here. Interesting. Okay. All right. So what do? You see her standing over there. What do you choose to do?
I'll sort of make eye contact and walk over and say, hello, Mike Anderson, special agent.
It's a long walk over there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As well, too. It's almost like so it isn't until you're, I'm picturing that you're probably wearing like trainers or something like that.
Probably sort of actually, what time of year is it?
This will be winter time as well, too. So around the time when her father...
Probably wearing hiking boots.
Okay.
For the walk in, and he doesn't bother to change when he's in the office.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's wearing a nice pair of hiking boots, so he walks over to her.
Okay. As you get closer, the squeaking of the boots kind of draws her attention up from it. She looks over at you and kind of does a look of up and down, and she looks annoyed. The look on her face is annoyed, and she shakes her head as you walk up. She says, "Are you kidding? I'm trying to find."
She said to me or the guy she's with?
She says to you, "There's no guy she's with." Who said that she was with a guy?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said there was two people. No, okay, so yeah. And I say, well, no, this is how I normally look, unless I got some egg on my
She says, "I'm trying to get in contact with." Sorry, Sean. What was your original name?
It it was Sam Jaspers.
Jaspers, okay. I'm trying to find a way of contacting Special Agent Jaspers or Special Agent Joseph. And that twigs your
Samuel.
mind. Now you definitely this brings your mind back to the case file.
Oh yes. Well, I think he no longer works for the agency, I'm afraid.
She sighs. She says, "I know he doesn't work here anymore. I'm trying to contact him."
Oh well. Well, the last time I saw him was a couple of weeks ago. We went out to Mudgie's Deli and had some beers after the game.
So I don't think you guys are. You guys
Oh,
can
right,
tell
it's
me
not
otherwise.
that sort of relationship then.
Yeah, like you are aware of him, but Sean, were you understanding that you and Anderson had like? Joseph doesn't strike me as the guy who's going out for beers and stuff like that if he's a shot.
No. Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't leave his place. As far as our closeness, and I think we were thinking that you knew my partner, not me, right, Mo?
Yeah.
So
right. Okay, yes, we did, didn't we?
and I don't leave my place since it happened. And Kevin, if it's all right with you, I reappeared in this foreign country 3 years to the day that I disappeared. You know, some kind of weird time. You know, little time thing too, maybe.
So again, like I think there's a difference between how long you've been missing and how long has passed since you've been missing. If it's been 3 years that you were gone, like the reason I was suggesting that it's that you appeared in this foreign country is because it's inexplicable how you would have been in that building on one night and the next morning you're showing up in Sarajevo.
Of course, I see. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So yes. So the time of my disappearance was short, but the time between my disappearance and now is 3 years.
And maybe one of the things going on what Mo had suggested before too, maybe one of the things that is unusual about those X-rays is like one of the things like maybe it's the tooth, you know, like the amount of I'm trying to think what the growth, what would be an indicative of something that would be the passage of time, but there's something about your medical scans that shows that there's a 3-year passage.
Yeah.
How does that sound? Is that
roll for insanity?
You could you can do telomere, as you can say, you know, his age isn't in sync with his real age, if you see what I mean.
Precisely, like and I'm trying to think of what the thing, like maybe there's some like minor surgical procedure that you had not far, like you busted an ankle or something like that and had some hardware put in there, but the deterioration, like the updated scans, it shows that the shit is broken apart. Right? Like what you were, instead of having something that was just freshly installed and secured in place over the span of one day, it looks like that the bone around it has deteriorated to the point where this heart, and it could be like, you know, fixation of your, like a busted wrist that needed implantation, or your leg. That's just a suggestion. What do you think, Sean?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, there's something that most people wouldn't notice that Anderson does because of the instrumentation.
Yeah, and that's something that, Anderson, like you're looking at and it'd be something that others would find inconsequential, but like, and maybe this is something that your Dr. Cooper pointed out to you. It's like, look, I know that, Agent Jaspers was only back in service after a medical leave. What do you think? What kind of physical recreational activity would Sam or Samuel be involved in? That would have, is he a football player or rugby? Just a bad fall at work?
Yeah, I think actually probably something on the job where he was in the line of duty. So it's well known, I mean, it's not well known, but I mean, it's in the records, it's in his file, it's part of his,
And that's maybe the justification for the medical leave, is that you came back shortly after you had what's called an open reduction and internal fixation. So they had to open up your leg, put in hardware to get it back in place after your leg was busted by something on the job. You've been back for about a month and then suddenly you disappear. But what Dr. Cooper pointed out to you, Mike, is look at this, like this, the nature, the way that the screws and the hardware has come apart here, this is deterioration. This is from like excessive use over time. This isn't a matter of it's being torn away. You know, and then, but because of all the other weird stuff that was going on with Dr. Joe, with Sam or Samuel after his reappearance, it really wasn't. It was sort of like another weird anomaly among a bunch of other weird anomalies that no one bothered to deal with. Do you guys think that you're aware of this suggested time lapse, Jasper or Samuel, or?
And the way you're doing it, Kevin, with Samuel, Jasper, that's what everyone does. Everyone is doing that. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I think he is, but in a vague way. You know, like in his yes, but he doesn't really give anything. Like he doesn't. You know, he's I was there for some time.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know,
well, his leg aches in a way that it didn't maybe before. You know, because if he hasn't had anyone correct that, then it may be a persisting sort of like gets up in the morning and it aches, and no one else seems to care that for you, Mike. No one else seems to care that he was gone. How the hell is he gone for 3 years?
Yeah.
You know, like this is the kind of wear that happens for someone, you know, gets this shit implanted in their leg and then they train for marathons for 3 or 4 years straight.
Yeah, so this would be a permanent implant, or it was something that was going to be temporary and then would be taken out and it's been left in there?
I think it's something that probably was to be a permanent thing, but it's something that, like, you know, when you get those things, you need to let it heal for a time and then you can, you know, go. But it's not going to be, you know, the same as it was before. It may heal back as strong, but who knows? What your doctor told you, or what your doctor friend, Dr. Cooper, told you, is that the way that this thing has come apart in this X-ray, it only would come from extreme exertion. This is someone who's playing top tier sports, or someone who's engaging in, you know, the most aggressive weekend warrior activity, or may have been, you know, some other kind of constant physical exertion for a very, very long period of time. Because maybe she can point out to you how there's small, like, there are like, it's not a matter of like one clean break. It's a matter of like, there are a couple places where it started wearing through. Like the nature of the break and the failure of this hardware is such that it, you know, it only could have been caused by this, the type of extended strenuous activity over a long period of time. This shit is surgical steel. It's supposed to be in there. It was, if he's for the FBI, he's getting access to top tier kind of medical service. I don't know whether you pictured Samuel having any military service beforehand too, but he also could have had access to the what do you call it? What's the veterans benefit?
The
VA, yeah. Service as well too. So like, great surgeons, this should have held up. How the hell does this get broken over one day for this type of injury?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but no one wanted to hear about that from you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I say, well, yeah, there was some problems. I believe he's living. Do I actually know where he lives at all, or it's just I think the case?
I think that if you track it down, yeah, like. Sean, do you think that there's like the FBI would be the way to get a hold of you?
Well, presumably get his pension from someone.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't take, you know what? I mean, I think people that don't care wouldn't know, but if you want to know, the FBI could know. It's not.
Well, and he still has his phone, right? So if
still has his phone,
maybe that's the way that you know that on the file there's a phone number, but you haven't. I think it's maybe been a few years, Mike, because of your persisting curiosity. I think that even though you did work together 3 years ago, you don't know, you know, like you haven't really been in contact with him since, because you've got no reason to. And initially your interest in uncovering more about this and learning more, your drive is what would have put off Samuel. Is that right, Sean?
What was the last part again?
So
that
him trying to what do you call it? Trying to who's here? Him trying to ask you questions about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll let you guys talk. I gotta quickly check to see what the hell's going on at the door. I'll be right back.
Yep. Let's see. because we decided, Mo, let's see, that we didn't know each other. You knew my partner. Everyone else is less, particularly at the Bureau, is less sympathetic to me because they don't understand. So they kind of, write me off as something that's, that kind of, okay, he broke and, lost track of his partner, blah, 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 where, you understand better. And so you're more sympathetic to me. So what is my relationship to you, though? Oh, and okay, but we decided that you were trying to get me back on my feet. So I think I look at you. Mm-hmm.
If I was trying to get him back on his feet, I maybe go and see him every, once or twice a month, every 4 or 5 weeks, just to check in on him.
I think that makes sense. Since we decided you're trying to get me on my feet, you try to get me out of the house. I mean, at the very least, oh my God, you've got to get out of there. Like, let's go for a walk around the block or something. Like, get out of there. And seriously, the bathroom, could we, should we have someone clean it, or what's going on? Maybe a little bit, once in a while, once a month, once a quarter, something. And I think
kind of was thinking that maybe we've met up to watch the game at a bar or something, or
I'm probably not up for that. I mean, I probably.
All right, well, maybe I've taken some pizza or something into your place. And
I mean, you've probably suggested it. I just haven't been up for it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I don't think so. That kind of a thing. And I mean, I think I'm well. My disposition towards you is positive. Like I know what you're doing. That you're trying to help. And
may I make a suggestion, guys?
Yeah.
What if we, in a flashback here, since we're sort of like setting the game up on the fly here, why don't we do this? Let's have, because it sounds like Samuel is not keen on letting Mike know where he lives necessarily, right? But what if Mike, in that further to his drive, is trying to find that out? Why don't we do this?
Yeah, maybe I've only got his phone number.
Yeah, Mike, give us let's do this. Why don't you make a read a person move again? Because then you can ask questions of Sean. Yes. You accidentally reveal your own intentions to the person you're trying to read. So why don't you tell Sean what Mike's intentions were?
Well, he feels sorry for Samuel, and he thinks, going on like this, you're going to end up in an early grave, or on the street somewhere. So yeah, his intentions are, he wants to try and not quite bully him, but he's trying to nudge him in the right directions. By suggesting going out and doing social things.
Yeah.
I possibly tried to get him to go to, I assume there are veterans and other PTSD type, not quite like Alcoholics Anonymous, but there are, support groups of people, because Mike probably thinks he's got PTSD.
Is, with 20 years of, constant war, there are lots and lots of meeting places for veterans or other, folks dealing with PTSD, so...
Yeah,
maybe I'm trying to encourage him to go to one of those, because he just disappears and weird stuff happens. I mean, people do sometimes disappear and go off.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks, well, that's what's happened, and he's trying to help him. So he maybe does catch up with him every 3 or 4 weeks, maybe.
Okay. So knowing that that's what Mike's intentions were, how does that affect Samuel's? What we can tell from the result of the read a person is that it was, to Samuel, it was obvious what Mike's been trying to do.
Yep. I think that
I've probably got a notepad, and he could see stage 1, stage 2, stage 3.
Yeah. I think Samuel is favorably disposed in a general sense to Mike's intentions, but has absolutely no intention of going to some PTSD thing, and that little part is slightly annoying. And so I don't tell him where I live, and so he keeps kind of pressing me look, I'll come over. Yeah, I'll meet you in the park. Well, I can just drop by. Yeah, I'll meet you at the subway station. So I meet him places. I kind of deflect. And it's mainly because Mike's trying to press me, into let's, I brought you a brochure. Yeah, let's, no.
Yeah.
Let's meet on the corner of, 11th and Main.
And we see him maybe get home that day, and as first thing he does, he walks and he tosses the brochure into a fairly full rubbish bin that we can see buried underneath the other garbage is more of those brochures that
Yep, more takeout box on top of the takeout boxes.
Yeah. So that I think helps give an idea of what you guys' relationship is. So getting back to the scene with Jenny, so she's asked, how, I'm trying to get in touch with him, and she's clearly quite annoyed with you. The annoyance, incidentally, is the complication.
Okay, well, I spoke to him like a while ago, but can I ask why you want to contact him? Do you know him?
She kind of sighs and she says, yes, Samuel was my father's partner. And she gestures down to this package that you now can see as well too. It's about like, shoebox size, wrapped up in butcher's paper. And she says that, well, this showed up on my doorstep, my mother's doorstep. And you can see that there is, just from quickly observing it, there are some hands scrawled from what looks like the black kind of grease pencil kind of stuff that butchers use to mark on butcher paper. It's on there, and you can see the name Joseph Peters just scrawled on it. There's no return address. There's no postage on it. There's no indication that it's anything. It is tied with a piece of like baling twine. Now, as a reminder too, Mo, because you got some success on this with a complication, you could choose, looking at the questions on, you go from read a person, you could ask me any of those questions if you like, with respect to Jenny. You don't have to, it's just that you do have the access to...
Right, hang on, let me, right, Sting...
And again, you don't have to, but this is sort of like on a meta...
Yeah, okay, so what do you want me to do? Is there something of interest in there?
So again, Mo, hold on. This isn't something that would be happening in fiction. This is a meta thing you can ask me about to help contextualize your response.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not... right.
Yeah, like this is what this is. What this reflects is you're gaining other information about the situation outside of the fiction that you can then use in the fiction to affect it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Can I get I'll use the what do you wish I would do to try and get a sense of what she wants from me?
Sure. You get the sense that she wants to just be rid of this thing. It's telling that she's not touching it or holding it, and that she's sort of pacing back and forth. She has not picked it up to offer it to you. You really get the sense that she just wants to be rid of this damn thing. It's not addressed to Special Agent Jaspers. It is curious that she just wants this. She seems to want to be rid of this, and seems to think that Samuel may know something about this.
Okay, so what's inside it? I'll ask her.
She says, I haven't opened it. What kind of training do they offer at the FBI? I have this mysterious package I bring to the FBI, and you ask me if I open it?
Well, if it was that mysterious, I don't think it would have got through the scanners.
Well, again, Mo, this is in the atrium. What scanners are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was kind of expecting you'd have to go through something before you even got into this area. Okay, well, in that case, do you want to leave it with me? And I will have a look at it.
You can see her shoulders kind of slump, and she says, yes. Yes. Okay. If you could get this, Samuel will know what to do.
Okay.
And
have you got a contact number? I'll give her my card.
Okay.
Do you want to know what's involved, or
if you could just ask Sam to call me, tell him that Jenny wants to hear from him.
Okay. I'll I'll give her my card.
Okay.
I believe all FBI agents have cards for this sort of thing.
Yep.
Or at least what it is in telly. Okay, and have you got a number as well?
She says, have you got a pen or...
Yeah, I pull out one from my...
Or here. She just takes your card, takes her phone, and kind of like, sends you a quick email. She says, that's how you can contact me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Special Agent...
Anderson.
Thank you, Special Agent Anderson. She turns, and the briskness with which she walks away suggests to you that she really wants to just be, get away from this thing as soon as possible. And you look down, and yeah, you're not wrong. I think that they would have maybe scanned it when it went through, because you're right. Like, it probably can't just anybody can't just bring a.
You're not going to walk into a building with a package.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I was kind of thinking they had the one-way tubes or the airlock.
Yeah. So it probably has been scanned, but so it likely has been scanned for what's inside.
Yeah. Okay. You said I work with evidence, so would I normally carry some evidence gloves with me?
You tell me.
Yeah, I think he'd maybe out of habit.
So I don't think that you're not a forensic, analyst or whatnot.
You wouldn't want to touch the.
You're more of like a mailroom guy than anything.
Okay.
But
yeah, I will protect the chain of evidence, and I will pull out my, fairly used set of, gloves, the nitrile treatment gloves, and sort of look at it and say, okay, I'll take this downstairs, and I'll pick it up and start walking downstairs. So you picking up this and moving it downstairs. And, you hold up your ID card as you make your way past, and that's, I think, we'll leave this scene, and we'll cut to Samuel. Does Samuel have his own vehicle, or does he get around by transit or by walking?
Walking, no vehicle. If he had a vehicle, he just left it. Like, he just, didn't interact with it anymore. And he's a walking subway guy.
Okay. So one of the interesting things with the status of Detroit is that, like, many neighborhoods are no longer accessible by transit because they don't have the money to set down this. I don't know if that's the current case as well. Oh, actually, hold on. I've got something that I wanted to use a hold for. So, Mike, you finished looking at this package, and because your attention is sort of focused on this, you can hear. Was that Jenny Peters? Friend, you sort of look up and you can see that it is Special Agent in Charge, Valentino. Sean, why don't you tell us what Valentino looks like?
Valentino is younger. He's got his hair slicked back, like it's in full, the full kind of. I think I don't know, maybe associated like kind of an Italian look, maybe.
Okay.
And he's a good guy, go-getter.
Yep.
This has had a big. I think this has had a big effect. Had a big effect on him. Whatever.
Yeah.
This is a big thing, and looks Italian. Definitely can't mistake him. No, there's no mistake.
Oh gosh, what's the actor's name? He plays. It's like season 2 of Boardwalk Empire. He plays the guy trying to like muscle in on things. He's in Vinyl. He's in the Station Agent.
Okay.
With what's his name? Anyway, he's tall, good-looking, serious-looking Italian-American guy. And
I was even thinking of Michael Imperioli too, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. He's your NPC, so I'm fine. Yeah.
So, whatever. I don't know the guy you're talking about, but I can picture him a little bit now.
Yeah, it's he was in that shitty Melissa McCarthy film where she plays a superhero. Okay. A Netflix film. He's in that as well too, but I don't remember the actor's name offhand. But anyway, so he looks annoyed with you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Jenny Peters?
Yeah, she sort of dropped this off and just said she needs to get this to Joseph, or
he looks down at it
and show him the name.
So he reached down and picks it up. He says, "I'll take care of it from here. Don't you? I think you've got responsibilities to take care of." And he turns and starts walking away with it. Now.
Okay. Can I try and read him to see if he's acting in good faith? I mean, I'm probably going to fail horribly.
So, well, how about this? Are you interested in learning, asking questions about him, or are you interested in stopping him? Because what you could do is act under pressure. What this is when you try and do something risky under time pressure or try to avoid danger, I'll explain what the consequences for failure are, but you roll a coolness check. Like if you really want to get your hands on this package, for instance, you could act under pressure to try and, and the outcome of that will dictate sort of what's happening in the scene. Does that make sense, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
And that's sort of the way that the game, like how this differs, and story games sort of differ from a traditional game, is that we're really your actions are affecting sort of the outcome of the story, as opposed to specific individual like attacks that hit or skill checks that persuade or whatever. We use the moves in a much looser kind of way than we would like individual specific actions in a traditional role-playing game. You could absolutely try and get his read to read him as well too, but right now that won't change what he's doing.
No, I think I'm going to let him go with it. I mean, could I actually use? Yeah, I'm going to let him take it away, and then I'll try. If you've got an
advantage
later
that you could use as two, I actually don't know I can't remember offhand what your advantages do. But you said you have what? You had not
analyst.
Analyst. What does analyst do? Oh, when you investigate, you may also choose to. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to let it take it, and then I'll do investigation with my analysis thing
to
try and find out what you found out.
Love it. Yep, that works for me.
And if it just disappears off the system, I'm then going to get suspicious.
Okay, so you see him walking away too, and you've already got your gloves out and whatnot. So sorry for going back. I figured I would take advantage of the hold I've got, to demonstrate how that kind of gets used.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. We were talking about Samuel. So you said he does not. He takes transit or walks, right? So what do we see as sort of? He's probably tromping towards the. Our first view of him is him making his way on foot through this dilapidated, Detroit neighborhood to get to where a bus line is actually still running.
And he probably has like a coat of some kind that's inappropriate. So it's it's probably a bedroom coat kind of thing.
Yep.
And he's got some sort of shoes you'd wear in the backyard, not out in the snow. And he's a little bit bedraggled. He needs a haircut, unshaven, and runs a hand through some oily hair, and is looking around. And that's what he looks like. Yeah.
And I think that it honestly could be a scene from a post-apocalyptic film where there's broken in windows, dilapidated buildings. Some buildings have actually collapsed because they've actually started destroying some of the homes as well too. So, but all of it is under a serene layer of undisturbed snow. And you're tromping through, like they don't shovel the sidewalks anymore, so you're tromping through, ankle deep snow on your way towards there too. Maybe mismatched boots, one kind of going along. We then see you waiting at your bus stop with a bunch of, Detroit residents as well too. There's an old African American woman who's, waiting with her grandchild too, and the grandchild's kind of looking up at you. Is Samuel a smoker, or does he just stand there on his own?
He's a smoker, and it's probably colored his teeth a little bit by now. Maybe more than it should have, because he didn't smoke before he disappeared, and so he came back a smoker, and he's got like he's been smoking for years, maybe.
Yep.
and but he's not currently smoking for one reason, because he doesn't want to draw attention to himself, and there's not that many, I don't know, but maybe he doesn't think there's that many smokers around him, and so he doesn't want to he just he avoids it.
So maybe like there's the group waiting at the bus stop, and everyone's sort of checking their watches. The buses are running late because there's so few that are running nowadays, and you're sort of off on your own smoking. But one of these kids is standing in the snow holding his grandmother's hand, maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, and is just staring at you. What does this kid get back from Samuel?
I think he gets along better the less FBI you are, meaning like the less like rigid and like, hey, you should be doing this with your life kind of thing. He doesn't mind it. It just doesn't fit him. And so, people like kids and stuff, he prefers, like, if he says, oh, well, I prefer this coat, they might go, oh, okay. Whereas an adult would go, seriously? You're like, what are you doing? So he probably gives her a wink, like he smiles and like,
and the kid smiles. We then hear the sound of sirens. Rear, 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 rear. And we see one of the only cars on the road goes zipping by. It's a Detroit police department, whatever I don't know if it's DCPD or DPD or whatever. And am I right in thinking that Samuel immediately kind of turns his back to the street?
Yeah, he's actually on the run more from the supernatural than he is humans. Okay. But it's a natural inclination. It's he's trying not to. He doesn't want to get really noticed in a general sense. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, so then we sort of cut to a scene of him sitting on the bus. No one is sitting next to him because no one wants to sit next to him. Seeing the Detroit going by outside, and then there's that the sound of the air brakes that you always have here for a bus getting ready to depart. Bus goes by and we see Sam standing near or at the bus stop. He has to walk again in order to get to Madame Yozoveski's place. As you walk into Madame Yozoveski's place, let's check your disadvantage as well, too. See if any spirit is coming or going here. Give us a 2d10 roll.
All right.
Please. 17, nice.
Ooh.
So who is it, do you think, that is trying to get in on you? Is it the spirit of a departed, someone who's trying to speak to a surviving relative who can't get through with Madame Yozoveski's tenuous connection, or something more malign?
That's a good question. I think I think Samuel thinks that it's a that it's what he's hiding from. I mean, at least it's associated with what he's hiding from, and it wants to know about her. So this, he thinks at least that she is part of the solution, whatever that means, like knowledge or helping him, or like she's and so whatever's hunting him or stalking him or whatever it's doing, it wants to know about her, and he doesn't think that it knows exactly, and so it's trying. He's going there, and here it comes.
So,
and
what about this? We see him cross an empty lot, a dilapidated lot full of rubbish and whatnot. It's one of the shortcuts he takes to get here, between two big buildings. It's across, and he's getting to the point where he'll just cross the street and he'll be at Madame Yozoveski's place. He gets to the crossing point, and then he, bringing his cigarette, his next cigarette up to his lips, he can see his hands are trembling. And he looks down, and both hands are sort of panicking, and he can feel pressure at the sides of his head. And your heart is racing like crazy.
Is it possible I have a nosebleed, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe you sort of, and it's getting kicked up in the overgrowth of your beard or whatnot too. Mm-hmm. And you sort of stagger, you put your hand on the burned out wreck of a car that sits across from Madame Yozoveski's place. But then, how is it that you think you bring this, this attack, whether it's panic or otherwise, under control? Because we know that it does not get in on you. Does he close his eyes? Is there some mantra he says? Is there a flash of a place that comes to mind?
I think he has something of Jenny's. I think he has like her. Either a couple things. Either what she gave him to contact her, or something he would have as a godfather. So it could be.
How
like
about this? Yeah. A picture of you and her father at her christening.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So I think he has a locket. I think it's a locket. Yeah.
And trembling hands, your cigarette drops out of your hands. You pull this open, and just focusing on that image, your hands slowly tremble. The world begins coming back again as the pressure subsides. And the only flash of there being the supernatural element to that too is there was the sound of some voice that was speaking through the muffled haze of the pain of the coming headache or migraine. That subsides now, and it's gone, and you hear the ding as some person walks out of Madame Yoseveski's palm reading thing, and I picture the name. The words are in like a neon sign with all Cyrillic lettering in it too.
Yeah, it's painful.
And you stagger forward and almost falling against the door. You clang, it kind of clatters as you walk into there. The door closes. I think that's where we end our scene, guys. Because
nice. And I'll just throw in there possibly that at least what he thinks is true is that his madness is because he's seeing too much. Like, so the veil of and so it's too much truth, and then it comes back. The veil is back, and he kind of recovers. That's how he perceives it, at least. He's not
absolutely
really...
yeah. There may have been around the edges of where he was looking at the thing. There may have been like cracks beginning to form that he was imagining or whatever. Yep. Love it. All right, so guys, that brings us to the end of our impromptu cult session. I can't believe the time flew.
I know.
Yeah. Well, this was. I had just an enormous amount of fun watching you guys bring these characters to life. Sean, I know your feelings on Kult Divinity Lost, but Mo, this is the first time you've seen this game in action. What was your impression?
Yeah, I thought it was really good, and I like the way you get the connections and the way of using the different skills to push the story rather than just say, I do X, I want the story to go here or pull some information. I think that works really well for this sort of investigative type thing. So this isn't a two-fisted, kick in the door, shoot the monsters thing.
Yeah, and I love the way that you guys, and I love that you immediately were like, no, fuck it, let him take it. I got a way of using my advantages to get to the information. That's exactly the sort of approach I think that's necessary for this kind of game. Because it's a horror game, like there's going to be setbacks, and that's part of what the hold is for me to be able to do unfair things to you guys that will require you to do that. And I love that you had an indirect way of getting it as opposed to just the direct route that I was suggesting. That was great.
Yeah, well, I'm hardly going to go into a tug of war with another officer in the reception area. That's not a good look, even for my non-standard,
especially outranked.
Well, I know you mentioned as well too that you were you also had the burglar background too. So I mean, you very well may have a way of getting access to that thing if you want to anyway.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that maybe he might get used if they need to someone, but maybe he also does rock climbing. Because I said he was going to do outdoors stuff, so maybe that's another expression of it.
Sure,
he can do rock climbs.
Guys, I actually have to bolt. So
you do. That's right. You were saying you had to leave early, so sorry for keeping you late, Sean.
No worries,
have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I'll make a very quick outro here. Then, so for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us. Sean, don't need to stick around for this. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks so much for joining us for this impromptu
Thanks,
session.
Mo. Yep. See you guys.
Yeah. See ya. Yeah, so as is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the game we played here, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section of the video below, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. I always have an enormous amount of fun with this this game, so I think that these are two very, very interesting characters that these guys have created. So whether we return to this or not, one of the things I really like about this as well, Mo, I'll mention, is that because it's so character driven, and so much of what is interesting about the gameplay is seeing what's happening to these characters. It's a lot easier for me to write for this stuff and for me to remember than it is for a game like Sigil and Shadow. And they're not games that are trying to achieve the same thing, but like with Sigil and Shadow, the reason we haven't picked up and played that again is because there's still a lot of work I need to do on my end to get it ready. Whereas this kind of game, I can have a rough idea of what's happening, but it's really seeing what's happening with your characters and how your characters respond to what's happening in the fiction and the outcome of the dice rolls. So it's a lot easier to pick up and just play with this kind of game than it is with a game like Sigil and Shadow. But
yeah, I certainly hope we can get back to this at some stage.
Definitely. Then, for those listening in home, again, we hope we gave you a few hours to give you some insight into what the Kult Divinity Lost game can be like. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.